even.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to day number 2 at the official Beacon Circuit event here at EPIC36. My name's John P, joined once again on the mic by Rook. We've just seen a very, very intriguing, which would have been a upper semi-final match, if I'm correct. Went all the way to the wire, full 3 maps, RIX, and narrowly edging it out in the end. Honestly, I was downstairs, I know you was as well, Rook. We were standing behind the players while they were playing. It was very hyped, it was loud, it was definitely, you could say actually one for the history books, to be fair with you, because obviously as these Beacon events go on, next week we've got another Beacon event with a different organisation running it. The storylines are continuing to start to build here between these squads. And we're now heading into the upper finals, of course, where one of these teams will book their spot into tomorrow's grand final. Yeah,
I'm really excited to see who it's going to be, because right now we've got RIX GG Static versus Gladius, first seed versus fourth seed. Gladius actually doing a great job on the south side of that upper bracket, so managing to clear through some pretty strong teams, whereas RIX GG Stack, obviously we just saw that match, and I'm so shocked that they actually managed to pick up game 1 after, as you said, a very nail-biting finish when they were 11-5 down, I remember.
They were 7-0 down at one point.
7-0 down.
And then I think they were like 11-4 or 11-5 down at the second stage, and listen, they brought it all the way back. It was, you know, any RIX fans watching, I want to say I jinxed. I was sat downstairs with a couple members of the RIX staff, as well as Hass from Pink Fluffy Unicorns, and it got to 9-4, and I was like, oh, comebacks on, here we go. And then they lost like 3 rounds in a row and lost the game. And I was like, yeah, sorry, my bad, guys, I apologise. But either way, no, we are going to stay on board with RIX GG Static. We are in the upper bracket final, of course. We will update you with the losers bracket side of things as they go and as they run throughout the rest of the day. They're playing best of ones in the losers bracket right up until losers bracket final. That'll be a best of 3. We'll see that on stream after this one. But we are, like I said, staying on board with the side of RIX GG Static. They'll be taking on Gladius, a team that we know all too well, me and yourself.
Yeah, we've had a couple of them on stream. We've had some fantastic performances from pretty much across the board. I think Mercedes Peak is looking so darn good, honestly, on this fade, especially on LAN here. And Mike has been having some really pop-off and fantastic performances on that raise. Yeah,
it's definitely a talking point. For example, the fade pick out of Mercedes Peak, right? It's an agent that we've seen really try to develop the style of play for teams within Valorant, and since her addition into the game, we're going to start to see over the next few months more and more high-level teams probably pick up and put Fade into the sort of talent, not the talent pool, the agent pool, right, and the agent selection. So yeah, I think he's been doing a lot of work on it, to say the least. He's looked very, very strong on it. He looks like he knows how to play it extremely well. And the side of RIX, you know, this side of Gladius, I think will be causing him a few issues, because we've seen RIX look a little bit vulnerable so far this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly been some vulnerability as well from Gladius, though. They did have their semi-finals versus Jokers, and I mean, while the first map wasn't too bad, on Ascent being 13-7, Bind got a little bit hairy. They went all the way to 17-15, so it's not just RIX that have had some of those issues where they've had to come back with some real nail-biters. It's definitely been tough all around. That shows you just how fantastic the competition here is, especially for those beacon points. I know a lot of those teams are very excited to try and maybe qualify, and definitely both of these teams dueling it out to try and make their way on in. And Gladius, I mean, as we said, do have a lot of ways to kind of play very aggressive, but they can be more tempered as well in that. So I think they're a very interesting team to try and properly challenge RIX GG, just like they were challenged by their previous opponents.
Gladius still only yet to drop 1 map in the whole event as well.
Wow.
It's been 2-0s and 1-0 fashions across the board. I actually want to try and find out who they lost that map to. I think it was earlier on, and it might have been to Temperate in their group stage sort of standings when they finished 6-1. So I mean, you know, they're the team really that have caught fire and caused a few upsets, you could say, so far in this competition. Coming into this, we said, okay, let's look at the likes of RIX GG, for example, the top seed coming into it. You know, they're a very well-respected name within sort of the UK industry and the UK scene of Valorant. Highest seed coming into it, highest Beacon seed coming in, which I think they're sitting at 7th spot right now, which if they actually win this Beacon event, they grab the 200 Beacon points and leapfrog all the way up into joint 2nd and 3rd. So that's a big statement for them going into that final week of the Guild Academy Beacon series next week. For the side of Gladius, though, would they have expected this event to go as smoothly sailing and look as good as they have?
No, I mean, they came in at 4th seed. They expected to do well, don't get me wrong. I mean, when we're talking about who they took down, they even actually took down Tempera, the other team which we expected to be the team they lost to. They took them down 13-6, so a pretty impressive performance, and the only team which they did lose to was EKO Esports, who managed to take them down 13-10, which is a bit of a surprise. EKO's seeding wasn't particularly high, but those guys were running on vibes. They were probably the loudest people in the LAN hall, so, you know, sometimes you get that momentum and you just pick up those wins. So I think Gladius were probably pretty annoyed about that, and they've been relatively clean ever since. But I mean, the fact that we're seeing these teams as well step up and really show up. I think they were 14th. They're currently 14th in the ranking for beacon points, if I remember correctly.
I think it's something
55
around the sort of 13th, 14th, 15th mark, give or take a few. I think you said 45. I mean, they've not looked the greatest, to be totally honest with you, in terms of the other beacon events coming into this one. Trying to perform, of course, though, and pick up those points. Like you mentioned, you know, we're still at that stage where these teams are trying to qualify and get themselves into certain divisions to have a chunk of that 10k prize pool later on in the year when the grand finals for Beacon come about. And, I mean, looking forward at it, Gladius in particular, I want to sort of focus on their map pool, because they're a team that they've played quite a few different types of maps here. They've not really selected one specific map. We know they like to play on Ascent, for example. We mentioned they're a team that likes to play Ascent, and they like to start on the defensive side of things because, you know, playing defense on Ascent can be very, very tricky at times. And they found a way to really sort of numb and know all of the strats for most teams that they play against, because they have that sort of that vice lock, right, where they just squeeze in teams and force them into a certain area where they've set up for. So I think talking about the map pool and the vetoes is going to definitely be a big talking point here as we go into this game.
Yeah, I think it really is, especially because they're so good, as you say, at map control, and that's why I think Breeze is also something they've been interested in playing. They played it a couple of times before and had relative success on it, so definitely interested to see if they'll be able to get that one. They did pick up Bind, but that was in the previous series, which I mentioned, which got very hairy, 17-15, but they did pick up the win in the end, and they were against a decent team in Jokers. But if they pick it up against RIX here, and RIX are comfortable on that map, don't think it would necessarily go so well. I think if we're talking about that kind of map control style, though, Haven is obviously something that also fits really well in their wheelhouse, so wouldn't be surprised to see them picking that up as well. But again, it really depends on RIX GG. I mean, what do RIX GG Static really like to play themselves? Do you know?
Well, they actually backed themselves on Haven in particular, and they said they've got a very good T set. However, they really, really struggled. I think they lost like 13-5, 13-6 to Temperate in the game before that. So, I mean, that Haven pick now might be a bit of a curveball to say, okay, we've lost on it recently. Do we try and force ourselves and play that Haven pick, or do we go for something that we like a lot more, the likes of Ascent? They don't mind a bit of split now, which obviously has been removed from pro play and removed from the rotation. The only map I've not seen them play is Fracture, I believe. Fracture and
They have seen that get back quite a lot, to be fair.
But I'm talking about this team in particular. I don't think we've seen them play Fracture, or we've seen them play Breeze much. So it'll be interesting to see if those two maps sneak through into the rotation.
I think Breeze would be a really good choice to ban, because I think generally Fracture is not one that people have been picking up, at least yet. Even though it's been out for a while, people haven't been really practicing it, apart from like some very specific teams, is at least how I feel about it. And also, I think Breeze is, as I said, quite a good map for Gladius. So I think that'll be a good shout for RIX GG Static to be able to take away from that one. Whereas I think maybe Icebox, I feel, is quite comfortable for them as well. Maybe. And it's a relatively open map, so I don't think it'll be too hard favoured towards them. But I like it for the way they play, at the very least. Yeah,
you know, the crazy thing is these two teams are very even on most of the maps. We spoke about the fact that Gladius, they love to play Ascent. They think themselves as a really good Ascent team, but RIX themselves on Ascent as well. They're a very, very strong Ascent team. They've got a very, very good team comp on it. They pull out the Omen on it. They have the likes of a Chamber, and they have the I think they might actually run a Fade themselves on Ascent. I'm not too sure.
I think it's quite good on Ascent, so I wouldn't be surprised.
But we'll have to wait and see if that does come through, and we can talk a little bit about the agent pool as that happens. But this is crunch time now, though, Rook. It really is. You know, upper finals. You book yourself a spot into tomorrow, nice and early doors. You get to go home early, relax. But I say go home, I mean they're probably going to head straight to the bar and have a few drinks to unwind. Hey, they deserve it. They've been playing like 9-10 hours of Valorant today, right? So they need to relax a little bit. And then from there, you know, you can relax and go into tomorrow nice and early. If you lose it, though, you've got to try and battle your way through yet another best of 3 straight after this in that losers final, and that's a bit of a tough task to do. Or especially coming off the back, right? The mental factor is something that we talk about a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, RIX GG showed their mental fortitude, right, making that big comeback. But, I mean, anybody can get shook, regardless of what happens. So you always got to keep that in mind. And I think Gladius certainly haven't dropped too many maps so far. So I think they're kind of in question. Like, could they potentially choke it down? We've seen a lot of very unfortunate situations as of late where people just haven't quite been on the ball. And as you said, very tired late in the day. You'll make some of these mistakes, and then it can really just catalyze into a pretty terrible situation for yourself. So you're always got to be especially careful in the later parts of the day.
Yeah, I mean, one team I would say, though, that I would have thought that would have dropped off from playing a lot of games would be Gladius. You know, like after that long day yesterday, sometimes coming to the best of 3s, it's a different sort of setting stone, right? That's where sort of these teams you see a little bit of inconsistency fluctuate, but Gladius have done anything but that. They've looked quite comfortable in the majority of the maps. Okay, they had that one slip up a minute ago that you think it went 15-17 or something like that where they won on. So, you know, if they can try and stamp those little minor errors out, they're going to be a very, very tough team to beat throughout the rest of the Beacon circuit. They honestly really, really are. Across the board on the other side of things, I think we've got CSGG in the losers bracket as well. Temperate versus CSGG, I think, is the losers semis, if I'm correct.
Sounds about right.
I think that's about right, and we'll confirm that for you. But I know Temperate are in there because they've just lost to RIX anyway. So
CSGG is still down there from what I know. I don't think they've been knocked out by anyone. No, I mean, they're looking really good, so would not be surprised to see them make the whole run back. But having that rematch with Temperate is certainly going to be a difficult one because Temperate have just been such a thorn in their sides because they feel like they can almost take down RIX GG, especially in that game we saw in best of 1s. Obviously, it was only best of 1, but they probably should have had that one, and then a rematch would have been so interesting to see. So, darn you, Temperate, you denied us it by being too good.
But one thing we want to keep you updated for as well is the Inters bracket that is going to be happening as well. Fun fact, let's meme the admins a little bit. I feel like we can't not have an esports event and meme the admins. They actually made the brackets and they realized they were playing the same teams that they played in the actual bracket and group stage. So they ended up having to mix the groups up. So that inter bracket is going to be starting relatively soon. The likes of Tabula Rasa are going to be trying to get some beacon points in there. I think you get 45 beacon points if you finish top 4 in it, and you get 25 if you finish top 8, which there are only 8 teams signed up, so you're guaranteed beacon points anyway, which is what you want ideally, right? Especially the likes of those newer teams like Tabula Rasa, some of the mixes as well that are coming into this first few LAN events that they're playing. Get some beacon points will be fantastic for them to try and build the confidence going into next week for sure. But we'll say, of course, today and the whole event wouldn't have been possible without some of our amazing partners, sponsors, etc., that we have here at Epic Land. Just down below, you can see huge shout out to Intel, Teams GG, Overclockers, MSI, and Logitech. That's Overclockers UK. Do you want to go on to Google and type in Overclockers? Because it's a different website that come up. I've done it many a times, and I'm an Overclockers partner. Alright, so make sure you type in Overclockers UK. But anyway, you know, here at Epic, we've had a great weekend so far. We've still got 2 more best of 3s in us today into tomorrow's grand final also. What's been your highlight so far, would you say? I think my personal highlight has to be that map between RIX and CSG in the best of 1. From my personal casting experience, in terms of a series as a whole, maybe the last series we just saw in terms of that close game between Temperate and RIX.
It was good, but I'm a sucker for like really highlight reel plays, and seeing Mercedes peak on that first game, seeing them absolutely, unfortunately for Tabula Rasa, put up some absolutely insane numbers was really exciting to see, especially because I haven't gotten to see so much Fade, at least at the current moment. I think it was really exciting, so that was pretty good. That, or some of the crazy neon plays we saw on Bind. Not Bind.
Breeze,
that's the one.
Yeah, it was
different beat.
TGH, right? It was TGH. Was it? I want to say Marky, right, from TGH. I think
yes, it was definitely an M of some kind.
Yeah, I think it was Marky. If not, I'm completely apologise for butchering your name. I'm pretty sure it is. Who would just every single round get so aggressive. It was actually against Gladius as well.
Yeah, it was. They unfortunately did shut him down in the end, but he started off with some absolutely fantastic work.
That's one thing I like about Gladius is they're so quick to adjust to the way other teams play.
Yeah, that's true.
It really causes a lot of team trouble. We saw it earlier on from Cognitus, right, as well. I think Cognitus were, like 6-0 up at one point, 7-1 up or something like that, 8-4 at the half or 7-5 at the half, and it just Gladius kept adjusting to every single thing that Cog were doing, and it just made their life so hard to live with. I think one big talking factor in this game is going to be Samo versus Sergino in this best of 3. Two chamber players, two extremely aggressive chamber players. It's almost certain that every single round these two will meet head to head and try and have some sort of engagement, with it be the operator, the tour de force, the headhunter. I would say though, Samo hasn't looked the most convincing and consistent so far.
He is aggressive, as you say, and he can have really pop-off moments, and we've seen it against a couple of people, against, for example, Prophet, and it was great when it worked, but it didn't work that often. Prophet constantly had his number, and look, I think Prophet's a decent chamber, he's a good chamber, but he's not an amazing chamber. Now, Serginho is. He is so darn good. He's put up fantastic highlight reels so far this tournament, and I'm just looking to see more of that. I think it's the first time I've actually personally got to cast RIX on stream, so I'm really looking forward to actually getting his name in my mouth, because oh lord, there are some really exciting players coming our way.
He's a master at work at times, and it was funny. We was talking, myself and a bunch of the Valorant guys, and we were like, RIX are going to have a job on their hands to try and keep hold of Sergino. Like, they really are. I mean, VRL's new season is going to be approaching soon. Teams are going to be knocking on the door for him, offering him, sort of contracts potentially as well, because no disrespect. I don't want to disrespect, look, some of the boys on RIX, they're my guys. I've spoken to them a lot. But I think Sergino is on a different level to the way that they're playing at the moment. That's not to say that this RIX GG static side can't meet that level and surpass that level. 100% they can. They're very, very talented players. I think, the likes of REX, a lot of experience, a player that can really fantastically pop off well. Pegasus as well, really sort of come into limelight, see it change into that controller role from a duelist. I mean, Lou, insane monster player when he pops off and gets hyped. Honestly, the loudest member, one of the reasons why their team is so successful at the same time, So these players on the side of RIX, I don't want to say like they're not as good as Sergino, but at the moment Sergino is just playing on a completely different level to probably every single individual player in this actual tournament. The only person that I've seen that I've probably been as equally impressed with as Sergino is probably Mercedes Peak from the side of Gladius.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, is the tallest flower is the one that gets picked and then taken away for something else, right? You may have this team functioning really well, but if Serginho is the one who's showing up, teams are going to want to try and pick him up and incorporate in the team. That's going to be up to him, how he decides to do that, obviously. It depends on what kind of offers he gets, but I think even if he sticks with his team, I think this RIX static squad is one hell of a force to be reckoned with, and I'd be excited to see them play in some kind of qualifiers for VRLs and see how they do, because I think they'll actually do quite well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's why Beacon's an amazing thing as well. It sort of pushes them through. The people who win the top of the division then go ahead and play into like sort of the promotion stages and get their spots into the next VRLs, etc. So I think RIX GG Static, they'll be right there with the likes of Unsigned, with the likes of OnlyFins, with the likes of AW3. It's just whether or not that's the same things that we talk about RIX Static all the time, is can they find and can they show that consistency? They can't look, one thing that's great that RIX know is they've got the clutch factor and the hype factor to bring and come back into games. However, against very good opposition, you can't afford to go 11-4 down, 11-5 down, 7-0 down. You just can't let it happen, because these higher caliber teams in the likes of VRL, in VCT qualifiers and online challenges, etc., they're gonna get punished and they're gonna get beaten 9 times out of 10 if they make those mistakes. Yeah,
having the clutch factor is lovely and all, but you don't want to have to use it. You want to be consistent and make sure that you're actually winning the rounds that you should be, that you don't make those slip-ups, because we've seen a couple of times now where they're in a position to win out a round and it falls away from them, right? And you just should not be making slip-ups like that, because as you said, as the competition level gets higher, it becomes harder and harder to make those comebacks. Even if you are good at them, it's not a surefire way to win. You can't just be, even really good boxers, for example, they're not solely counter punchers. They're not sitting and waiting and biding their time the entire time. They have to set the pace. They actually have to play well. They have to understand how the boxing match, or the Valorant match in this analogy, would go, and you just can't sit around waiting, hoping that they give you a chance, because a lot of the time, they won't come.
Well, veto process has begun. It is going to be the side of RIX who take Team A. That means they get the first ban in the lobby. They're going to take out Split, which is going to be removed from the pool anyway, so no surprises there. Fracture is removed by the side of Gladius. We're going to see an Ascent pick straight in from RIX, which, I don't know, man. I think, that's That's a big pick in Gladius' favour, in my opinion. They've looked absolutely stellar on Ascent thus far. I mean, look, RIX, they look very, very good on it as well. However, it was the map that they had a lot of problems caused for them by Tempera. They were 7-0 down at one point on that map.
They did win it, however, in the end, so if they can return to that form, it won't all be too problematic. But Gladius have certainly been on a hot streak, and I certainly wouldn't count them out, and especially with the way that they play around Fade, I think it'll be interesting to see the comparison of the two different Fade plays, because you did say that RIX GG do also play Fade on this map. I think they do.
I'm not 100% sure. I know there was one other team in this tournament that played Fade on Ascent. I can't remember if it was RIX or not. Listen, we've watched and casted so much Valorant.
Just a little bit.
And the first thing is when we're not casting, we're downstairs watching other games, and we're bouncing from about 50 different setups to see what the results are. But we are going to see, I think, the CT side be picked from RIX as well. We see Bind then get picked out of Gladius, and RIX will start on the CT for that side too. And that'll be interesting to see what that third and final map is to be the decider. Bind, we've not seen any Bind, I don't think, at all this weekend, or at least I've not casted any. They're going to be removing Icebox, so we could have a Haven or a Breeze for final map. I think we will probably have a Haven, if you ask me.
I agree. I think they definitely want to be going towards Haven. Wait, who's making the last pick? It's RIX? Yeah, it should be Haven. I don't think they want to go to Breeze.
I think RIX will probably pick Haven. We have seen, like I said, Gladius remove Icebox out of the equation as well. So it's one of those situations where if RIX make the same mistakes on Haven, they could get punished quite easily, and that is exactly what we're going to see. Haven CT side start for RIX. It's this map pool, I think Gladius has had a better map pool and pick out of this. The fact that they're starting on Ascent, for example, that's going to be a big pick in, and that's RIX's pick as well.
That's actually really nice for them, and they'll get side choice as well, which means they can get that momentum going. And again, we've talked about how big that is. I mean, it's less big for Gladius and RIX, who aren't those really super fast-paced teams who just run at you. But at the same time, it's still something nice to have. And I think going into Bind as well as their second one, while they did have some trouble on it more recently versus Jokers, they still have a decent squad and a decent set of strats on this map, whereas I'm unsure exactly how much of that RIX have played, but I'm definitely interested to see how they're going to be able to play on that one. But as we said, Ascent is going to be that first map, and do you think we're going to see anything strange? Do you think we're going to see the Neon again or anything like that?
Out of the side of Gladius, we're not. We're going to just see the standard team comp. I think it was...
They play basically the same team on every map.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to see the Fade. We're going to see probably Mike on the Raze. We'll see Cam, I think... Samo plays the chamber, and then we see Housie on the Omen, and Cam, I think, usually plays the KO, if I'm correct. Yeah, either the KO or the Sky. So I can't really see anything shocking coming out of Gladius. RIX is the same, to be fair. They know their team comps. They play very, very solidly around their team comps. Segino going to be definitely 100% on the chamber. We're going to see Pegasus.
If he's not, I'd be mad.
Yeah, we're going to see Pegasus on the Omen, almost guarantee it. I mean, and then it's sort of what duelist do you want to pick into? Do you want to go into the Raze? Maybe a Neon or a Jet could come into the equation as well. Definitely going to probably see the likes of a KO or another hard flash. I think RIX don't mind running Breach on this either. So... lots of if, buts, and maybes. The players are loading into the lobby, though. It won't be too long until we do get into Agent Select. Kicking things off, though, on Ascent, like I said, Gladius, I think... Who do you think won the map veto, in your honest opinion?
I agree. I do think it's Gladius because of the first two maps, and then we go to Haven anyway as the last one. Like, they're perfectly fine with that. But the problem is it was a choice between Breeze and Haven. I don't think RIX had any good decisions from there, but purely because basically... neither of them want to be playing Split nor Fracture, so it's not surprising to see both of them get banned away. I think it's just RIX and have an unfortunate matchup into map picks where you can't really take anything away from Gladius that they don't want to play. Sorry, that they want to play, because that's exactly what you want to play. And I think they have a little bit of an edge in terms of that, because I think RIX are better in general, is the way I would look at it.
Well, we will have to wait and see how Ascent plays out. We are just a few moments away before we digest and dive our way into the upper bracket final. Can you believe already the upper bracket final? We are there. It feels just like yesterday we was casting best of ones. I mean, quite literally it was. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what team drops down out of the upper bracket final to see if they're going to have what it takes to bounce back against the likes of a Tempera or a CSGG, for example.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a pretty stacked bottom lower bracket right now, and honestly, I'm excited to see who makes it to that lower bracket final from the lower bracket, because as we said, they've got a lot to face up against. I believe Jokers are down there as well. I'm not sure exactly who's still playing. Cognizant are no longer in. I believe they got eliminated. Are EKO still in there or something? I can't quite remember.
I'm gonna put it up here. Actually,
I
think I'll just pull it up on
you can't unfortunately show your phone to the camera so that we can figure it out. But
no, yeah, I'm just gonna pull it up.
We'll have to figure it out. But yeah,
on here,
I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see exactly how much we get out of CSGG, or whether they've lost that momentum and
so CSGG actually lost to Pink Fluffy Unicorns in the lower quarters.
That's not super surprising. They're a good squad.
We are going to see Pink Fluffy Unicorns take on the Jokers. It's Temp versus Cog. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where who really knows who's going to come through that losers bracket. I think, for example, the likes of the likes of Pink Fluffy Unicorns might cause a little bit of trouble, but I do believe we are finally ready to lock and load into Ascent. We can get Cast to start the game check, because I'm ready, Rook. I don't know about you. Let's head into this. It's map number 1 of the upper bracket final between the side of RIX GG and the side of Gladius. So let's head on into Agent Select.
Yeah, we got the Chambers locked on in, and a very similar comp. Almost like I'm going to be a deja vu from Gladius right now. But the interesting thing that I really like about RIX is they're really willing to take this Sage. They love it on this map. I see a lot of plays around the, either side, honestly, and they do prioritize those orbs as well. That's something really important.
Yeah, and they do take the Fade pick as well. It was RIX who I saw play around with this, with the Fade pick as well. It's going to be Lou in the hand. So, okay. Look, let's be honest, it's a near mirror matchup. All that it is a Sage instead of a Raze pick. Now, this is primarily because, you know, Rex, he's a very intelligent player. He likes to play a little bit more slow-paced. He's very sort of angle and aim-heavy in terms of the angles that he likes to hold. So, the side of RIX, they play around that wall very, very well, whether it's to get them onto site and use it as a bit of cover to cross from A site, for example, out towards and wall off Garden, or whether or not it's used on a defensive sort of front to lock off B main, to lock off the entrance to A main and into Garage. And time will tell, but let's go into Ascent finally here. It's been a long day of CSGO for not only myself and you and the players, but Jay and Hanno as well. We've Valorant, sorry. That's because I'm actually scheduled to cast a CS game later on. All right.
All right. He has an excuse.
I'm casting the final CS game of the day at
That's
Epic.
not bad.
So that's what. Well, there goes my VCT shot this year, doesn't it, lads?
Unlucky,
There we
buddy.
go. Is what it is.
It's all right. At least you haven't said the B word.
5. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have to say Spike.
Not yet. Anyway.
No, not yet.
watch when I cast CS later. Now I'm gonna be just saying Spike 24/7.
They'll get so mad at you in chat.
Yeah. Should I? I might just meme it for
That'd
the
be quite
sake of
funny.
it. Should I meme it later on? Give me a dub in chat if I should meme it, people. But we are just waiting for the server to load. Again, that key matchup, I think, Samo and Sagino on the Chambers, but Peter and Cam both on the KOs as well. The Omen disc between Halsey and Pegasus, Lou and Mercedes Peak, 2 very, very aggressive players and people that like to get up close and personal, hyped in your face on the Fade. It's safe to say a few champ diffs might be happening.
I think actually it's less about the things that are the same. While I do think the Samo-Sagino matchup is going to be interesting, I think it's going to be Sagino-sided, simply put. I think the difference between Rex and Mike is more important to me at the very least, because we were talking about space control, right? And Mike is really good at creating space for his team, finding so much for his team, and I think on Ascent that's very important. But Rex also does the opposite in locking it down, playing slower, holding those angles like you were talking about, setting up those walls, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether Mike can play around that, and obviously has the satchel charges to deal with the walls, but he normally wants to use them to try and go forward. So it'll be interesting to see if Rex can kind of contain him in that way, or whether they'll use other pieces of utility to do so, because Mike otherwise can be a real thorn in your side. He's always in the place you least expect, and always providing so much pressure for his squad.
Well, let's see if that pressure can pay off, as it's been a long day of Valorant so far. Rook got it right that time, and we are here finally. One of these teams, that will be their last game of the day as they'll advance through to that grand final tomorrow. Yeah, best of 3 or best of 5 tomorrow?
Best of 3, I'm
best
pretty
of
sure.
3. Can we get a petition to change it to a best of 5?
It gets so long, man.
Best
That's
of
the
5
problem.
finals.
We have a bunch of different finals to do tomorrow. That's the problem.
There is only one acceptable series count for a final, and it is a best of 5. But we'll talk about tomorrow a little bit later on, as we are nearly ready to dive into things. A little bit of a tech pause, I think, coming out early on. RIX starting the offensive side, Gladius taking the CTs. What do we think of that?
I think it's a good shot for Gladius. Again, they're pretty good at understanding the flow of the game when they're on defense, and they can kind of make their aggressive plays based on the information that they gather from the fade. So I do actually like it as a whole. The problem for me is that I actually think in this matchup, they want to be the slightly more aggressive side, especially because of the fact that they have Mike on this raise, ready and raring to go, whereas Rick Static kind of want to be playing a little bit slower. So I'm surprised, but at the same time, if Gladius can get a good number of rounds here, that should all be fine and dandy. The problem is, last time we saw them playing this, they did struggle a little bit on this defense. I believe it was against Cognizant when they just had to deal with that Neon, who was constantly running up mid, constantly applying pressure all across the map, and their defensive side didn't look so solid.
I think I actually think one of the reasons why we've got a tech pause is because these two teams are sat quite close to each other in the line.
Classic.
So we're just trying to rectify that, get a bit of a barrier put up between the two. Not like we would encourage them to cheat at all, but no. I mean, you know, you gotta say. And we've got to stay fair. It was actually funny earlier on. It was the Jokers versus someone, and one of the 3 admins sat between the two
I was
teams
there too,
because
as well.
They were in the same line or something like that. It was hilarious because there was another game going on and all the screens were being used because the teams were facing each other like straight on. So there was no screens left to use to block, and it would have been a health and safety issue if you put a barrier in the middle of the line hall.
Absolutely.
So it was just a wall
Body
of human blocking chains, just touch tight next to each other. But
well, all our admins are quite tall, so at least that works for us.
Yes. You know, we are very we're built diff over here in many ways.
Built epic.
We are built epically, you can say. We're
built like you can build PCs with overclockers UK. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. And then you can collect all the intel on Valorant that you might need to know.
Absolutely.
Should we just see how many plugs we can do for sponsor reads throughout this whole tech pause?
Well,
we've not got a lot of time anyway because there's only 5 seconds left of the tech pause as we're going to go straight in
say.
to the game. Here we go. Map number 1, upper bracket final, baby, between Gladius and RIX on Ascent. Let's get into this, Rook.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see again how this matchup between Samo and Sergino goes, but unfortunately, probably won't see it at least early on here because, well, they're on different sides.
Well, Samo always plays this exact same way on the pistol round with the Headhunter. He pushes out towards A main when starting on the defensive half because, you know, you're not only going to get yourself a quick kill, you can TP your way out of trouble relatively quickly. Peter, though, instantly tagged up. Going to be dropped down to low HP, of course, because of that ability from the Fade. Does do the damage to yourself as well as revealing your location, but nothing to worry about just yet.
Interesting to see how things go on. Don't forget there is that heal from the Sage, something we haven't seen too much of, at least today, in terms of the picks. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But Halsey is going to be that first point of contact, holding that one way. It's a good look, but the knife does not find a thing, but tells Halsey he should probably back off away from this one.
I love the fact that the side of Gladius, they've not given up too much map control towards mid as well. That's why they can designate and dedicate 2 people over towards that garden area, because they've got the KO there with the suppression blade, of course, or the 0-point knife, should I say. So just pop that knife out almost instantaneously, and he'll get all the info he needs. Pop flash comes through. The reveal as well from the Omen. Prowler out, gets tagged up. He's run and gunning. Somehow finds the right click on Talou, but it doesn't matter because Rex and Sergino are there to trade back. Buzadi's pick finds the trade as well. And all of a sudden, we're left in a 3 versus 3 with 10 seconds left. Spike finally goes down.
Oh my lord, I cannot believe he got away with that. He messed up the teleport, but still made the best of a bad situation, and now looking at the best of their bad situation. Oh my god, look at the aggression from Calm as he takes down 2 and sets up the first round for Gladius, and that's getting the momentum I was talking about that they so sorely needed.
Yeah, Gladius, they're so good on the retake as well, Rook. They're just so composed, they're very relaxed about it, and they trust each other completely because at times, you know, from as soon as one player swings out, the other 3 players or 2 players are alive, are watching different directions, and they just collapse so well and comfortably together onto the retake, and 9 out of 10 times it's very successful, and what a way to start here in the upper bracket final for a nice little pistol round win, and 3 of them stay alive as well. well. So that's not, two of them, should I say, stay alive. They're going to be picking up the Spectres as well. No doubt Samu's going to have the Headhunter back into this round, and Mercedes Peak elects to finally grab that Spectre upgrade too. A couple Sheriffs and a Frenzy on the board as well for the side of RIX. We've seen, though, how many times these two teams in particular have won eco rounds. RIX have won a few. Gladius have won numerous anti-eco rounds throughout the rest of the tournament. So, although it is a good start for Gladius, don't count RIX out just yet, my friend.
Yeah, do not give up away any of this pressure, because otherwise things can go bad so quickly. Someone moves out into the middle, so he's not getting pre-peeked or pre-aimed on those angles. Still has the ability to teleport away. But they're actually going to shoot away the rendezvous.
So, Samo going to have to wait a few extra seconds before he can put that rendezvous back online and TP his way back up in towards the top of heaven. For the side of RIX, though, they're sitting inside the Omen smoke. They have spotted one. It is Samo who finds the kill. He finds the second. He's hunting heads, and he's hunting them successfully as the triple with a Headhunter comes through. Mike cleans up shot onto Pegasus. The right click from Samo is only going to allow Calm to find the final frag. And just like that, 2-0, quick succession. Samo is a menace with the Headhunter, man.
You know what, if we see this form of Sano, I'm absolutely here for it. We were saying it's going to be a bit of a worry that Gladius will not have the chamber matchup here. But if he can deliver like this and shut down a bunch of these players, unlike Sagino, who obviously early days hasn't had the most pressure, at least in that previous round, it's a good look for him, and good that he can actually match up to that scoreline, obviously both sitting at 3 and 2.
Big bonus round here, though, for the side of Gladius. If Samo can replicate that form and go huge, and we see this quite often on Gladius's bonus rounds or Ecos, they like to stack mid and get that complete control, but here comes the surge from the side of RIX. It's led by Pegasus. The Omen TP's up on towards the top of the generator. Does Mike know he's there? Not. That's going to actually work as a fantastic bit of smoke cover. Mike finds the headshot onto Peter, but it doesn't matter because the Vandal's there to just spray and pray his way onto their head. Lou somehow staying alive underneath the bottom of hell. And for the side of Gladius here, this is very, very doable because Mercedes Peak now is going to find Sagino, going to find Pegasus as well. Mercedes Peak getting so much work done on this fade. There goes Rex. All of a sudden, it's up to Lou. See you later, my friend. Gladius win the bonus.
Mercedes Peak is so darn good, delivers just when the team needs them to, and you were saying about just how valuable this round is. This bonus goes big for Gladius as Rix's economy is now shot again, and Gladius are likely getting up to 4, maybe even 5, and then we're going to start to see the econ start to come on in. And Gladius, even if they lose one of these, they've still got the cash in hand.
Yeah, not only that, we've got to talk a little bit about the ult economy build-up as well already. Calm already 2 off that null for the side of Gladius. Mercedes Peak one off from Samo as well. A couple off once again from Halsey and Mike. So by the time this eco round comes about, if Mike finds 2 or 3 eco frags, he's nearly got the showstopper online. The same from the shadows for Halsey as well. So by the time the next buy round comes through from RIX, yes, they might have a few ults of their own, but the defensive ults on the side of Gladius as well are going to be so good for them to try and hold on to that spike site.
Yeah, it's also showing that Gladius, they're very happy to frag across the board. It's not just focused on one player, and definitely a ton of different people on the squad can step up. It looks like Static, though, looking for a chance to push on in here and put some pressure onto the B site at least early. Make sure they get that ult off. They focus so much on this one, but they go down to the paint shells. Rex trading his life for that one.
Yeah, big kill as well. As I think Rex wasn't too far off the res. I mean, he wouldn't have used it in the eco round regardless. Anyway, Mike's going to double his luck as Lou's going to fall also. And I mean, I love it from Gladius. They're not making any mistakes. Even now in the 5 versus 3, they know they're playing against an anti-eco and they've only got a few sheriffs. But look, they're being patient. They're buying their time. They're not overstepping. How many times have we seen in this competition a team against an eco round get too aggressive?
Gladius.
Yes, in particularly Gladius. We've seen it time and again. They'll get a little bit too aggressive, and then all of a sudden, 1 or 2 players will drop, and then it's left up to the players on the opposite sides to try and retake. But I like the fact they're being very, very patient. They're trusting each other here. They understand this is the upper bracket finals, and no mistakes can be made.
They cannot mess up against Rick Static, who have looked just so strong so many times. Flash goes in. Peter wants to try and find something, but the Prowler comes for him. But nothing just yet. No one's going to find any frags. They're actually going to have to back away from that one after sending a couple of shots just out into the ether. And right now it's that point blank range. Sagino goes down, and now the options are really closing. Only 25 seconds, and well, Peter and the gang, they've got to try and find an opening, and they actually managed to get Halsey.
Yeah, that's going to be Pegs Zeus. TP's way up towards Catwalk as well, but unfortunately calm, cool, collected indeed as he swings out on the KO, finds 2 for his troubles, and the 4th on the board for Gladius. That's the null command that I mentioned was close to coming online already there. Samo now tour de force in the hands to work with. Also, it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see Samo probably go and face aggro towards top mid or towards B garage here with that rendezvous set up. There we go. He's going to probably go out straight towards towards B site, or actually no, it looks like he's going to peek mid. He's going to be sitting on towards pizza maybe and try and find that entry frag. Well, no, there you go. He has actually took his TP back and he is going to sit over towards B site and try and find that entry frag with the tour de force. But it looks like the side of RIX, they're heading over towards A.
Ooh, they used the null command on that A site. They are going fast. There's 2 players waiting here. They will actually see them and they take them down in short order. Good start for RIX.
Yeah, fantastic start. But guess what? Guess who's lying there in wait? It's Mike. He finds the first, can't whip onto the second. It's RIX who finds him. The revive should come through. Pop flash out. Can any be found? They can't, as Lou's going to shut down Calm, and all of a sudden it's up to Samo. He's going to save the gun into the next round. It'll be the first on the board for RIX Static.
Yeah, really well played there by RIX Static, managing to deny Gladius. Honestly, with just 2 flashes, it felt like. They go in, they take down the first set. Sure, they lose 1 to Mike, but that's perfectly fine by them. Samo making the call here that, hey, I'm probably going to die, so let's get rid of that AWP before it's even a problem. But takes down his first. Maybe he can hunt for a little bit more.
Might be able to find some more here. And it's got 4 bullets to work with. He will want to try and grab one of those rifles and take it back home with him, and he does just that. Is he going hunting here?
Ooh, I love the
I
spice.
think he's going hunting. Listen, he knows that he's got the tour de force into the next round anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He'll still have the op to work with. And guess what? He's found Peter for his troubles as well, so that's going to be a player that falls.
Yeah, considering there were no frags before that, shout out to him for actually managing to turn that into something. But as we said before, that eco is still perfect for Gladius. Look, maybe they could have a little bit more on Mercedes Peak, but that's fine by them. They've got 4 out of 5 ultimates, and Mike is not far off.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where Samo, he doesn't even have to buy the operator back into this as well, so he's going to have enough money for the operator next round regardless, because he'll probably just pop the tour de force and headhunter out of this round. And bit of a 4 stack here from Gladius over towards that B site. Are they going to start off with a little bit of aggression? They are. They're going to send Samo out here, and this is something we've seen from Samo time and time again, this aggro angle on B garage. However, though, on the flip side, it is going to be RIX advancing their way through towards the middle of the map. They got to try and cross behind that wall before it gets shot straight out, and I like that from RIX. They took their foot off the gas a little bit. They don't want to get caught in the middle of the map there, because we know sort of how Gladius like to suffocate their opponents and squeeze them into a bit of a chokehold, and they've walked their way over towards A, and it's just how's he lying in wait to try and stop it.
Yeah, especially since someone promptly responded to the barrier orb. I think that's a really important part. Halsey sets up that one-way yet again, and actually buys their team some time. You may know where he is, but he's just going to spray through the smoke and finds one. Samo even finds a second.
He actually TP's out with his life. Lou there, though, does find the shots, but the spike goes down in towards Garden. What are you doing, Rex? Why are you taking the spike with you, my friend? You're throwing the rounds away. But it's Sergino who actually finds 2 with the classic somehow. And all of a sudden, we're in a 2 versus 2. 1 HP and a dream for Sergino as Mercedes Peak finds the kill. Lou, though, makes it a 1 versus 1. Chamber versus Fade. Samo, for so long, been a real X factor for the side of Gladius. Can he do the job? Can he hold his nerve?
Has the ultimate. I don't even think it's a bad idea for Lou to try and pick this one up here, but needs to go quick. Catches his head! And Samo misstepping there and handing RIX Static the opportunity to pick up that round.
That is a huge 1v1 from Lou to win. And not even that, I think it was a 2v1 as well, right? Somehow Sergino, he finds 2 right clicks with the classic. Free gun, by the way, if you didn't know that.
Yep.
Rook finds a few kills with it and allows Lou to just waltz his way onto the site, pick up the Vandal and just trade the kills out. But a pixel of Samo's head was all that needed to be seen from the side of RIX GG as Lou clutches up and puts the second on the board. The economy, though, still somewhat okay for the side of Gladius. They managed to scrape in a buy.
Give RIX an inch, and they really will take a mile, considering how bad their economy was looking before this, and then they just win these eco rounds and these rounds where they don't have much board, and still manage to make it work. Here comes the push, though. They don't actually move out on into it. Sorry, I expect them to run off that, but they just didn't.
Well, I think that's because the counter ult came back through from Gladius as well, so they would have been tagged up and shot through the smoke anyway. RIX, though, walls his way up into the top of the window. Can't find any shots just yet. Sergino and Peter, they're going to try and advance their way onto the site, but guess what? Mike's lying in wait. Can he find any? He can't. Rex is there. Lou picks up the kill onto Mercedes Peak. And all of a sudden, how the turntables have tided their way into the sea or whatever I just said didn't even make any sense, because what I'm seeing right now doesn't make any sense. How RIX, they were 4-0 down a minute ago, and now they're storming their way back into what should be 4-3.
War has changed, and now RIX Static are on top. Gladius seem confused and bombarded by ult after ult and piece of utility after piece of utility, as they just can't seem to win the duels anymore. Sagino has come alive.
He's woke up a little bit, and in the 4 versus 1, it should be relatively straightforward stuff here for the side of RIX Static to put themselves in a spot to force the eco out of Gladius and tie things up at 4 rounds apiece. Lou, though, is going to fall. That's another Vandal out of his hands, but Sagino trades. And RIX, just when you think they're down and out, man, boy oh boy, do they bounce back.
It's so exciting to see, honestly, and we've had some fantastic games from RIX, not only in terms of how they've been playing, but also an emotional roller coaster, I think is a simple way to put it, because it was up, down, everywhere, honestly.
Well, the economy is going to be broken from Gladius. It is just going to be a headhunter from Samo, a sheriff or 2. Judge as well in the hands of Housey. Housey we're going to TP across and probably sit inside of this close right corner with the Judge, if not inside the smoke. We've seen the side of Gladius do this multiple times.
You have indeed. I'm not surprised to see RIX Static not even thinking about moving on into that angle, but they still push forward and they lose 1. Really well played by Mercedes Peak, but they trade 1 for 1 in the end.
Yeah, Pegsu should have actually dropped there as well. Gets tagged up to 30 odd HP. Mike has got the ult to work with, so he could shut down shop and stop the show if he needs to. But I love the fact that Housey, even though with all that contact towards the middle of the map, he's been super patient, anticipating this rotation over towards the A site. Peg's good for 1, so is Lou. But lying in wait, gonna be Housey. Is the corner checked? It is. Lou's too good and smart for that. All up to Mercedes Peak. We should have a tied game here, Rook.
Nah, it's tragic to see, honestly. I thought they were going to get a little bit more of that. But RIX Static, they play well, they understand the outs, but still Mercedes Peak finds those frags, and that is, honestly, it seems like it's always going to happen regardless of what you do. This man is on fire.
Well, Khan believes in him and says he's going to win this 3v1. It's very much doable. However, for the side of Gladius, it is going to be a bit of a tough spot that Mercedes Peaks find himself in. Probably would elect to try and save this Vandal through to the next round or pick up an exit at least. He's got the info as to where 1 is. I think he realizes his chances are a little shot here. Gonna try and play for the exit, or at least an exit frag or 2. Manages to find 1, doesn't get out with his life, loses the Vandal, loses the round. And there we go, all tied up 4 apiece.
And, you know, I was coming on into this with the 4-0 from Gladius. I was like, man, their economy, so good, completely impenetrable. But then they lose 4 rounds in a row, and their economy looked shot. Finally, they can afford something else here. They're going to get that operator back for Samo. And maybe with that high-caliber weapon, he's going to be able to have that impact that we saw a little bit earlier. Again, look at those frags, mostly still keeping up with the numbers, but it just feels like RIX Static understand now what makes it tick and how they're going to get towards the objective and get that bomb down, regardless of what Gladius pull out towards them.
I mean, Gladius, how many times have we said that they're such a good team at adapting to tough situations? RIX, though, equally as good as they are. The TP into the smoke, that's going to be shut down from the shadows in terms of Peg trying to get some sort of control. Look at how quickly that spike was just planted onto that A site. They've got complete control. Sagino's lying in wait towards short. He finds the first, can't find the second because Samo's there. But all of a sudden, RIX have lost 2 players.
Flash goes out, they start to make that move, and with the showstopper as well, they can clear that out, but picked from the sky. Loot on top of things, deals with the 2 on top, and that is just easy for RIX Static.
I don't know why the pre-fire from Mike on the ult wasn't there. He just jumps out before even shooting. All you got to do is pre-fire the bottom and you probably find the kill. Lou goes huge though, finds 3 in the round, puts his fade ult online as well. 5th in a row, back to back for RIX Static. And I can tell you right now, they're a team that like to get hyped, in particular Lou, in particular Surge as well. They love to get loud. They love to let people know what's happening in the LAN hall and in the game. And for the side of Gladius, it wouldn't surprise me if they lose this, they'll take that tactical timeout.
No, I think it'd be a good shout as well, right? Especially with how things went. They were in control, and it completely slipped out of their grasp. RIX Static have not given them any quarter since then, and as I said, give RIX Static an inch, they will take a mile, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. They might end this half 4-8 without dropping a single thing, because right now they are on fire, and Gladius need to find a way to extinguish the power and the threat that is being presented to them, especially in this mid.
Samo, man, he's just so aggressive. Although he finds the first, Rex is going to find the revive, and it is numbers advantage in favor now of the side of RIX Static. Gladius have got the fade ult, they have got the null command in the hands of the KO2. But with a big difference in terms of weaponry, the Vandals to the pistols, this should only realistically steer one way.
Yeah, I mean, but we have seen those sheriffs pop off before. I think regardless, Gladius is happy to at least force out one of these ultimates here as the util starts to go on in. The flash goes through, and they are pushing forward. Look at the rotates from Gladius. They're here quickly, almost.
He dinked him!
Oh, that's the range difference, buddy. That's the weapon diff.
Oh, listen, I'm a big advocate of the fact that a sheriff should do 150 headshot damage, not 145. It's heartbreaking, to say the least, but the revive comes through, so he's going to be back up to at least 90 HP. Oh, if the kill is confirmed there, how different this round could have looked, because the spike would have been dropped in the middle of a main. Although Mike does get some work done. How's he there too? Sagino from behind makes it 6 on the bounce for RIX. Surely the timeout has to come through from Gladius.
Has to, right. I mean, to be fair, decent amount of damage they managed to deal. They took away 2 kills and a res away from RIX Static, so maybe they can pull something out in these last 2 rounds, but they're going to have to really redouble their efforts. They've got 3 ultimates themselves. The question is how they're going to use them. I think Samo's saving his for the penultimate round, sorry, for the last round next, but I really think they should be using Mercedes peaks more effectively in shutting down these pushes or going for retakes.
I mean, if you look at the first 4 rounds, their retakes were flawless. They were perfect. They were beautiful, you could say at times. But since then, it's been anything but. Now RIX, a little bit of change of pace. Rex gets his way up into the window. Peter, though, going to find the first. But Mercedes peek there with the Odin to shut down the day. He finds the second onto Peter, but the nade is going to go ahead and trade. But guess who's there? The trusty Chamber, the trusty Frenchman himself. As it's going to be Samo doing so much work on the Chamber to shut down shop. Speaking of Chambers, though, on the other side of things, it's Sagino now in the 1 versus 2. We've seen Sagino pull off ridiculous clutches before, but the players are so close together. He's isolated one, he can't find the second. As a triple for Samo. Finally, the side of Gladius break that momentum.
Samo swings around the corner and gives deliverance to Gladius in that situation. Shout out to Mercedes Peak for making that Odin work as they smoked down multiple players as they tried to push on it, despite the fact that there was a Sage shooting them from on high, despite the fact that the Fade utility was hitting them all over the place. They even got shut down. They couldn't use any of their own because of that null command. It was brutal, but still they held strong, and now gives Gladius a chance to come through to this one. Even Stevens.
Oh, listen, I think we're in for 3 maps of overtime, if you ask me, Rook. And listen, I'm all for it, my friend. I'm all for it if they're going to put on a show like this, but we're going to head into the final round of the half here between the side of Gladius and RIX. If you've just joined us, this is the upper bracket final here at EPIC36, this penultimate stop on the initial stage on the Beacon circuit for Northern Europe. And oh boy, these guys have put on a fantastic show thus far. Speaking of putting on a show, Samo, how many times this event have we said him and the operator are a combination not to be messed with as the triple comes through. It's out in full force, to say the least. Although Peg's there to trade, we see RIX get completely wiped out of this final round.
And that mid has been a death zone if you're playing versus Gladius so far, and it keeps on that trend. Pegasus is looking for a chance to maybe open it up and does take down Mike, brings it closer with every frag.
And a minute ago, Samo looked like he'd done the job to try and swing this in favour of Gladius, but Peg, the calm, cool, collected, Mr. Man Bun himself, has somehow found fantastic 2 kills to somehow keep RIX in this game. However, though, the players have been spotted from the ult on the Fade. Pop flash comes through, can't find the first cam. Stay calm, my friend. All you gotta do is try and isolate one Peg. That's exactly what happens. Triple from Peg to Zeus. He spotted Mercedes Peak. Mercedes Peak finds the first. It's Peg versus Mercedes Peak. Quadra for Peg. Can't find the final kill. Omen diff to say the least. And we're going in at the half. 6 rounds apiece.
My lord, Gladius, they brought it back to even. I cannot believe it, in spite of what RIX Static were doing. 6 rounds on the trot. They really had their number. But Gladius, have they broken free? Have they found a chance? Now they're going to the attacking side, which I think their comp is a little bit better fitted for. But don't forget, RIX Static are better on this defense as well. They should be able to lock this down, especially with the way they play around this Sage. They are so good at limiting your options and setting up for their plays.
Well, it's been safe to say these two teams have come to entertain here in the bracket final. We are 12 rounds in, and my throat is already telling me, please, John, relax a little bit. Talk from your diaphragm. It helps you out a little bit. But sometimes when things like that happen, it's too crazy. You can't even think about breathing. You just got to get the words out as quickly as possible. And for these two teams, they want to try and get themselves into that final tomorrow as quickly as possible. But with all even Stevens at 6 rounds apiece here, we head over into the swap of the sides. And it's now going to be Gladius' turn to try and penetrate the defenses of RIX.
So he's been looking to try and get a bit of extra information, but Sergino delivers, and even with the classic, he does not need the signature weapon right now. It's getting so much. Pegasus does fall in the end, but it's 2 versus 1 for RIX Static.
Yep.
Tom will, however, get that spike down.
Yeah, RIX, they got to try and make sure they can channel their inner Gladius and make the retakes go down well. Cam is going to be there. Lou nearly whiffs, finds the kill. 7th on the board, first pistol round. And for the first time in this game, we see RIX come into a round, have a clear game plan. Of course, I mean, okay, look, I say for the first time in the game, it's the first attacking round, so you maybe give them a bit of credit where credit is due. They did look a little bit ropey, though, however, on the attacking half. They didn't really look too coordinated, but on the defensive half, they knew exactly how they wanted to play that. They stacked out towards short. That means they've done the homework as to how Gladius like to play this. We know they like to get control of the middle of the map as quickly as possible, and Sergino was lying in wait.
Yeah, really well played by Sergino. And you'd think, right, these chamber players, they only know how to use their gun. But instead, brings out the classic, really shows up, and actually manages to shut down so well. Gladius, now over on those sheriffs themselves, looking for a chance to maybe try and find some of those headshots, deny some of the econ away, but it'd be easier said than done. Rex, again, showing just how much he likes this orb.
I mean, it wouldn't put it past me if we saw Gladius pick up an anti-eco win. It really wouldn't me. How many times have we seen, especially Samo, get work done with the Headhunter? But Luke going to shut down that idea quickly enough. Sergino, double trouble for Gladius, as now 2 players have dropped. And this should be the 8th for the side of RIX. They've not made any mistakes thus far yet on their defensive half. But then again, we are only 2 rounds in. And RIX, their factor about themselves to just turn it on and clutch up when they need to is that of a real high level and high caliber team, to be totally honest with you, Rick.
I mean, honestly, they are a high-caliber team. Even when Halsey gets that frag, they hold their nerve and take it down. Sergino is waiting in the wings and with backup from Pegasus. They shut that round down, making sure the eco is, well, not able to find too much here. So now, rifle round for Gladius. Let's see what they can do to try and seize back control here, because last time they lost some rounds, it ended quite badly for them.
Well, basically, if they lose the same number of rounds they lost in a row last time, they've lost the map, basically, if you put it that way. I mean, for the side of RIX, though, this is a big, big bonus round for them, right?
Yeah.
If they win this, they break the economy. They put themselves at 10 rounds to 6, most likely, should things play out the way they should. And then from there, it's really on Gladius to try and replicate what RIX done in half number 1, sorry, on this map 1.
Yeah. Rifles out and trying to make sure that there's no one hiding around that corner. RIX Static right now, very much sitting back, chilling, making sure they don't overextend too much and maybe trying to catch them off guard with these Spectres, as you really want to do.
The thing is, though, like, we know Gladius sometimes, they like to explode onto the site after, you know, around the 45-second, 30-second mark, but walking into the likes of a Spectre is going to be a bit of a daunting task, to be totally honest with you, because the run and gun potential there on that gun is is really ridiculous. Do you know what I want to see? I want to see a flash, a paranoia from Peg, and I want to see a TP behind them. But guess what? Speaking about being behind them, there's Rex, the sneaky peeky like roll on the Sage. It's fantastic stuff from him. Numbers advantage now very heavily in favor of Rix.
Yeah, again, playing this agent and knowing just when you can cause some real harm to your opponents. Will actually manage to escape here, pushes out into mid again, but this time falls to Halsey, but not without dealing him a lick of damage.
Yeah, a little bit of a head tag. That's going to drop 60 odd HP at that range from the Spectre off of the HP. 30 seconds left though. The side of Gladius, they're so slow over towards that A site. The 0 point from Karma is going to let them know exactly where they come from. And Peter, I don't think it's going to expect all three players to wrap their way over towards this site. And just like that, Spike will be planted. Numbers advantage in favor of Rix here though.
And going all the way around from this one. Really looking to set it up, but there is a dark cover in the way. It eventually expires, so they're going to be able to find an opening here. But with two players, one on either side, this could end badly. They're going to shift up. They're going to go round, head up to heaven. But the burst comes out. The aggression this time from Gladius, but it's denied by Peter. They are given a chance. They are given a way through here. With only one remaining, they easily take him down.
And there we go. It is going to be a bonus round win for the side of Rix GG. And you've got to say, though, here, Rook, Rix, they're looking like a very, very tough team to beat once they get firing on all cylinders. However, can they continue to fire on all cylinders? That's the question.
That is a really good question, and I think that Rix certainly can. I think they're a team who can weather the storm, and we saw that in the previous series, right? They were down. Oh boy, were they down. But they took, I believe, it was about 9 rounds on the trot, which is quite a few, honestly, if you ask me. They really managed to deliver when it mattered. And right now, they're not even under the same kind of pressure. They're under nowhere near the same kind of pressure. They're feeling more comfortable. They're in their zone. They're here on Ascent, where they're more comfortable. I think this is a perfect time for them to pop off and pop these players' heads.
Yeah. And I mean, for the side of Gladius, though, we know prior to this that they are a team that sometimes can come out a little bit slow. But when things aren't going their way, they have got that adjustment factor about them, and they can sometimes swing things in their favor when they usually don't look like they can. And it usually comes off the back of a ridiculous anti-eco win. Whether or not they can do that here, though, is something waiting to be seen. We do have a few tech issues, so we do apologize. We will try and get those quickly restored for you as soon as possible. But taking a little look across here on the alt economy, you can see for the side of Rix, everyone's sitting at a cool, steady 5 out of 7, apart from Rex, the additional orb needed for that resurrection on the Sage, of course, being at 8. For the side of Rix, after this, they should realistically here, Rook, if they're smart, you know, if they find 1 kill each throughout the whole round, they'll be pretty much lock and loaded to try and find themselves a full set of alt economies going into the next buy. And that's exactly what you want to be sitting up. You know, okay, look, let's say they win this round, right? They're going to be sitting on at least 10 rounds, 10 rounds to 6. You then go ahead and clutch up and you win the next buy round. You're forcing an eco, and guess what? You're on that magic number 12 for map point before the side of Gladius can even put the last buy round of the potential game back into the mixer.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see as well how they use those ultimates. We've been seeing them use them quite aggressively and pretty willy-nilly, and I love the fact that they're willing to just cycle through them again and again and again and again. And that's one thing that I think is really important about RIX Static. They understand that these resources, they're meant to be used. They're not meant to be sat on and squandered. Like sometimes you see these omens not use their ultimate, right? They're waiting for the perfect time. No, just use it. Scout the information. Get everything you need in order to be able to deliver just the amount of opportunity and just the amount of information that you need to really execute out on that one. Looks like we've hopefully got those issues sorted. We should be able to get going in just a second.
I mean, this is a big round. This is a big round. Not only the fact that if the side of Gladius win the anti-eco, it's a huge momentum factor. But Rix know that if they can stick some ults on the board here for the next round against Gladius, they're going to be in a very, very, very good spot, to say the least. Sagino low, lying in wait. It's going to be Peg to find the first kill. Samo's going to fall. So far, so good for the side of Rix. So far, so great, so amazing, so fantastic as 4 players drop, and no mistakes look like they're going to be made here on the eco round for Rix.
Yeah, will not give Gladius any opportunity to get back on into this game, hitting that double digits as quickly as they possibly can. After what was an even first half, RIX Static looked to make sure there are no questions about the quality of their play. Damn, they want to take it the whole way here. Tries to play out for it. The flash actually does catch it. Oh my god! Almost more, but Peter denies him before he gets a little bit too popped off.
I was ready for the pentakill ace 5k fully flashed and for the whole of RIX to just DC from the server.
Fair play, fair play.
When something that happens, you gotta just say, you know what? Okay, you can't really complain about it. I'll probably see myself on Twitter or TikTok later, but guess what? It's only memes. So, I mean, yeah, there we go, the Twitter clip from Segino. But there we go, 10th on the board for the side of RIX Static into the next buy round. We've got 2 ults online. It's the Tour de Force as well as the From the Shadows from Peg. Everyone else just one off in terms of the ult economy here for the side of RIX. What can Gladius do here, though, Rook, to try and get themselves back into this game?
They've got a couple of ultimates themselves. They've got that showstopper. They've got a lot of ways to kind of push on forward, especially with this race. This is the big difference in the team comps right now, and other than, you know, just playing better, they could leverage this. They could use this to try and gather space. I'm surprised we don't see as much pressure towards the mid because I feel like that's such a great way to isolate B and play from there. Instead, they're kind of playing around, flirting with the idea of pushing A, where there is still 3 players and quite a lot of utility remaining.
Quite a lot of util. Quite a lot of time left in this round as well. 1 minute to be exact. 2 players, though, from the side of RIX. Swinging the way out towards Catwalk. Halsey has been spotted, but Cam's there to find not 1, but double his luck to find 2. So there we go. There's the little bit of steer and momentum factor in favour of the side of Gladius. It's going to be a heavy numbers advantage as well. There is 1 player, though. Make it 2. Peg's going to be TPing his way straight into the smoke. Blue finds the first Mercedes peak is going to be fully flashed. Can Peg make it count? He can't, because unfortunately Gladius are there to save the day and put the 7th on the board.
That's all on Cam there, and the communication as well that, hey, yeah, we know there's 2 players there. What are we going to do about it? They bait them out in the open. Cam hits the shots, and as you said, doubled his luck. Made so much out of that. And then from there, they could just brute force their way onto that B site and find a lot. The problem is getting that kind of reaction out of RIX Static is easier said than done. They're only 3 rounds behind now, so it's not all too bad. But with the pressure that RIX Static have got on, I don't know if it's going to be enough to really keep up the kind of performance that we're seeing right now. When, look, Gladius can hot streak themselves, but can they deal with all the kind of ultimates that are still in the bank from RIX Static? Because they invested a lot into that one just to get a sliver, just to get a single round, a sliver of hope.
And that's the issue sometimes you find when you're like 4 or 5 rounds behind, right? You got to try and win rounds and win them flawlessly, because any little bit of economy that's chunked out and weapons dropped from you, although you've won the round, it almost feels like a loss, because the economy difference can sometimes see yourself on a Bulldog or a Spectre while everyone else has got Vandals in the lobby. So look at that, though. 5 ults online for the side of RIX Static. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a couple of them invested and brought in to this all-important round number 18. Prowler, though, does spot a little bit of information. That horn gonna surely reveal a few players in a minute once it's popped down. It's not, though. It's not, because it's not been spotted. Samo, though, behind enemy lines, already lurked his way up, shoots out the trademark, and all of a sudden, the side of Gladius here, they're in a fantastic spot to take this B site. Look at how slow RIX have taken to adjust to this, and guess what? It doesn't really matter, though, because Rex is there. He finds 2. He swings to find the triple. The Sage goes huge for the side of RIX. I thought for a second Gladius had a fantastic pinch on towards the B site, but if in doubt, get Rex on the Sage and wipe the rest of the team out for the Quadra. That's 11 for RIX Static.
It was such a big mistake there from Gladius. As you mentioned, they had that mid control. They had a way to come on in from market. Sure, they didn't have extra information, but what they should have done is pincered those 2 players stuck up. The problem is they didn't know who was there because of how well Rex was playing around the information gathering. Again, on all of that utility, none of it quite landed them. They knew someone was kind of there, but they didn't know the number. They didn't know exactly who and exactly where as well. So as a result, the slow orb bought them so much space, so much time that, well, Gladius, they felt rushed, and in their rush, they made errors and made mistakes that led to them losing that round.
Only one ult from RIX as well invested there. The res, of course, from Rex, which didn't even really need to come in. At the end of the day, Sagino shuts down Samo, and once again, it feels like Samo just struggling in that chamber battle. We saw earlier on he had problems with Profit, and against someone like Sagino, you just can't afford to start off slow because he will make you pay every time.
Yeah, you got to be quick as anything to be able to take it down this RIX squad, and right now, they're the ones miles and miles ahead. 4 rounds up right now, 4 ultimates in the bank, and Gladius already a player down. The numbers certainly don't lie. What can we see from Gladius here? Well, I think, honestly, playing around that showstopper, that's one surefire way to make a splash. And Mike has definitely been a standout player here. I would love to see that from Gladius. But they're just being slowed down by all this utility.
So far, RIX could be looking at cementing himself 1 foot, 1 hand, 1 round away from seeing themselves advance through to that grand final. Of course, we have still got potentially 2 more maps to go, but we might only have 1 more round to go here as RIX look like they want to try and put themselves that lucky number 12 on the board. It's all up to the final player alive for Gladius. Could find 1 here though. The cross does come through. Spike down. 10 seconds left. RIX advance to map point.
Yeah, there's no way they're picking this one up. Unfortunately for Cam, there's too little time, doesn't have the spike, and there are 3 players all keeping an eye on this angle. Let's take down 1, almost goes for the double dip and finds a second, but EPIC36 does clutch it up, does make sure that nothing too bad happens. And I don't think that economy for Gladius is looking anywhere near healthy, at least at the current moment, if I remember correctly. Regardless, they do have the ultimate for Samo here, so they do have an opportunity to get something on board, and they will kind of be able to buy up a little, but not enough, I'll tell you that for sure.
Well, Samo's going to drop 1, of course. He'll then advance through and put the tour de force into the equation for this round. However, they're going to be met with a tour de force of Sagino themselves.
That's not a good prospect, honestly. I would be terrified to have to do with Sagino on that one. The Prowler as well, giving away Samo's position. Does actually manage to hop out there as I think it was an Odin actually potentially spraying on through. No, it was just a Vandal, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that.
Gladius have to win this round, or map number 1 goes in favor of the side of RIX. The first big piece of contact and kill found here so far in this important round has gone in favor of Gladius. Sagino, who had the tour de force, has been dropped.
Yeah, that was such a big piece of the puzzle, and yet again, Mercedes spreading more light on the situation with Rex gone. That's going to be a lot of the ability to slow this team. Absolutely not on the board, but 2 holding this angle now. They do know, however, that was such a good knife there from the KO, and that means EPIC36 and the gang, they're completely known about. Mike is holding the back here, gets the head of the first. There's another one down there. The flash, however, lands, and Peter does get a frag, but there's still 2 players down.
Yeah, it's a tough spot as well because Peter, his position has been isolated. The knife, though, is going to detect at least 1 out towards Garden or short, so that makes the life for Mercedes Peak, not Mercedes Peak, sorry, for Lou, a little bit easier. Peter does find 1, can't find any more. 8 from the board for Gladius, and just creep over the line and keep himself alive here on Ascent.
Backs up against the wall, the trusty Gladius. Might be what they need, might be a way for them to strike on through. They've got the cash now, they can buy up at least on most of these positions. Mike can get up to a rifle, deciding whether he wants that or armor, and decides towards the rifle itself. Not been having such a game, unfortunately, this time. 7 and 17. Not what I wanted to see.
But the thing is, though, we spoke about this last time we saw Ascent. Mike's that player where, although sometimes his stats don't look so appealing, it discredits how much he's actually doing on the map in terms of presence and control over certain areas. However, when your team are 4 rounds down, you have to try and put a few more kills and at least be somewhat, have double digits. He's sitting on, what, I think 8 kills at the moment, you said it was?
7.
Or 7 kills for a main entry point, and someone as good as Mike, you have to be performing a little bit better. But look, we've still got a lot of Valorant to go. Hopefully he can bounce back in the next few rounds, if not into map number 2 and be the difference maker for his squad. Yeah,
it's because we know he can do more, that we want to see more from him, and I love seeing Mike pop off, so that would be a great way for Gladius to pick up this game. No Command comes on in, they're starting to make their move. Peter just about skedaddles out of that situation, but still has so many players to deal with coming towards him.
Good old spray and pray through the smoke. He's going to tag 2 players up, though. And guess what? Mike and Calm, they're there to find 2 kills. This is fantastic stuff so far for Gladius, although 2 of them are tagged up relatively low. And now the haunt's been popped. The location revealed as well. And in the 3 versus 5, I don't think the side of RIX can really afford to lose too much weaponry. They're not. They're going to go ahead and save it. 9 goes on the board now for the side of Gladius.
Yeah, if RIX went in here, sacked everything, they move Gladius up to 9, and then Gladius are looking, oh, you have no rifles, you have no nothing, you are easy pickings. They move up to 10, and then the pressures really starts to be on. We could see overtime, and you said earlier you thought it was going to be 3 games of overtime. I think you very well could be right. With the way that Gladius have started to stand up, it could be an opportunity, but don't forget, do not count RIX Static out. They could close this in just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me now that RIX have lost like what 2 or 3 rounds in a row that he just come out, fly down mid, and Sagino gets like an ace or something like that with an operator. That's just the way that RIX seems to work these days. But either way, Gladius though knocking on the door at RIX, just testing how strong that fortress and the armory of the side of RIX can be. And at the moment, not a lot coming back the other way from the side of RIX. The buy though can be just scraped through. It is going to be pegged though on half armor, unfortunately. For the side of Gladius, everything's looking nice and strong. It's looking locked in. They're a little bit ahead in terms of the ult economy regain as well, with 3 players closing in just over the halfway stage towards their ults.
Yeah. Importantly, though, no operator on either side, so that definitely changes the way they're going to interact with some of these angles, but some are going to be that first point of contact, and through the wall, Mercedes peak takes down Lou, and that's the Odin I was talking about. The wall bang comes in massive here and sets Gladius ahead.
Yeah, that's why the Haunt is sometimes used so much and preferred now, the fade over the Sova, because it tracks your whole body around for so much longer than the Recon Dart would do, and it's just such a free kill for a wall bang like that on an Odin through the wall. However, Sagino, can he find one? He does instantly rendezvous his way out. Numbers advantage wiped clean off the face of the earth, or at least on the map, you could say, here in round number 21. A huge, important one at that. RIX, what are you doing? You can't get caught with your barrier orb out. And now, Sagino, what are you doing? The side of RIX seem to be throwing this map away here.
Lambs to the slaughter are honestly headless chickens, as RIX Static just walk in, go down, and Gladius are going to be moving up to 10, and that econ that we were talking about that was so important might just be completely shot. There goes Pegasus, and you look, he gets 1, but it's 1 versus 3 to clutch it out. We've seen it happen before, but can he make it happen with so many different angles with the dark cover on top of him? He's expecting Camp to be there, but what can he pull out here?
It's going to be tough. He's a very talented individual player. Only 9 bullets left in the chamber. Can't even find the first as Mike is there. 10th from the board for Gladius. RIX now, I think we're going to have to eco. We could be looking at overtime potentially. No, they've got enough money for the buy. That is so vital that they found a few kills there and had that money build up. But even that though, Peg not going to have enough for the Vandal, neither Sagino. Luckily the Headhunter's available for him. The same with Peter. This is a very, very dicey few moments here for the side of RIX. Do they say, okay, we might have to eco here and play off and win the last round and go 13-11, or do they invest in heavily here and then potentially cost themselves the game?
They're looking to play for that next round. They are putting a little bit of effort in here, but the economy is mostly getting saved for that one. They're looking for some cheeky plays, and that could put them over the edge. Certainly could. I mean, with the way we've seen RIX Static play, it could be fantastic, but they're rotating hard over towards that B side. They are prepped for something absolutely magnificent. If they can catch these players as they try to move on in, that'll be so big.
Yeah, fantastic stuff thus far from these two sides to get a fantastic map number 1 of this upper bracket final. But here comes the surge from the side of Gladius, but they're met by Lou, who finds 2, and all of a sudden it's just up to the fade. 12 seconds until that Haunt is available and online. If he can dance with the devil for just a little bit longer and maybe find another one, there goes Samo, but Calm's there to find the trade. 11th on the board for Gladius, but that was a big round from RIX, because not only do they make 3... Okay, no, never mind. The economy is absolutely solid for the side of Gladius. I thought it was the other way around. And for RIX, okay, they get the revive online. They get the From the Shadows in the hands of Pegasus online as well. For the side of Gladius, though, what a comeback this would be.
Oh my lord, I'd be so pumped for it. Mike's close to that showstopper, but importantly on the other side, we've got Lou close to their ultimate, Peter close to that null command as well, and this would be such a good opportunity for his RIX Static, and they do prioritize their sword. That's why we see it again there, but look at the play forward.
A lot of aggression coming out for both teams here, and I like the fact that one thing RIX have done so well is really take control over this short mark, because it shuts any potential from Gladius down towards the middle of the map. 3 players though from the side of Gladius over towards that A site, out towards A long. However, it doesn't matter because the spike's on the opposite side over towards B. We see Gladius do this a lot, right, where they like this little split setup and then they decide which site to go to once they find a few frags.
Yeah, they'll play wait and see. And I'll wait for that one mistake that'll finally condemn RIX Static to that overtime. 2 even more rounds, which have been looking shakier and shakier as the game has gone on.
And it's a complete polar opposite to how this game started, right? You can see now this is the final round of the game. Look at how slow-paced this round is being played. No one trying to make the first mistake, but so does Samo. He wants to engage. He finds the first onto Lou. It's going to be the tour de force to find the opening pick. Can Rex come back, though, for his side? He does the revive available. Samo gonna swing, gonna find the kill. 4 versus 3 here in favor of the side of Gladius, but instantaneously, Sugino is gonna trade it straight back. How many times have we seen these chambers for either side go so huge? But speaking of going huge, it's Mercedes Peak with somehow the angle advantage onto Peter, and all of a sudden, RIX GG full. It's all up to Pegasus alive at the back of B site. They're flying their way over towards A, and guess what? We're going to overtime in map 1.
So pivotal is Mercedes Peak. Done so much work on this fade, be it utility, be it intel gathering, be it just pure-hearted fragging. Now Pegasus really going to have to try for this one, but as we said, it's unlikely as anything. Now that overtime is looking good. I'm so excited for Gladius. They have gotten their zone, and RIX Static right now, they look a little shook, but they can play the long game. They've proved it before. They just need to go and win 2 more in a row. There he goes, and that punctuates the start of our overtime.
Oh, Samo, so many times for the side of Gladius. He's stepped up when he needs to. Mercedes Peak as well, who in my opinion has got his name potentially up in lights for MVP of the tournament from what we've seen on stream, just for us casters' point of view. How they knew exactly where he was. The wall bang through the wall on towards where Switch was as well. He somehow finds a fantastic bit of crosshair placement and angle advantage on the player swinging out from towards CT. And just like that, from what was a 5-round advantage from RIX at one point, they see themselves, a 5-round advantage, a 5-round comeback from Gladius, and we're heading into overtime.
Yeah, it's not quite RIX Static, but hell, it'll do if you're Gladius right now. Blessed by the happy feet, Mercedes Peak and the rest of the gang. They are looking for an opportunity. No operator here. Mercedes Peak doesn't even have a rifle? That's
did he not buy?
Questionable?
He didn't buy! Mercedes Peak didn't buy!
I
What? Mercedes Peak? Hello?
I'm confused as anything.
I know there is sometimes a bug in the game, and it's happened to me where you buy a rifle and it auto-drops it and it doesn't register, but it doesn't really matter too much because Samo's going to find the first. No doubt Mercedes Peak's going to go ahead and pick up that rifle eventually. Howsey drops one. GDS, Gladius, they're somehow surviving in this, and they didn't even have the weaponry advantage in terms of Mercedes Peak to start with. However, that spike will go down onto the A site. 2 players in this lobby, though, relatively low. 1 apiece for either side. It's going to be the KO for the side of the RIX. That's going to be Peter for the side of Gladius. It is going to be Samo, the difference maker thus far for the squad. Mike's going to find one. There's Peter, finds the second. 18 HP, and somehow this side of RIX, they just will not quit in this game. And somehow Mercedes Peak, when you need someone to hold their nerve, guess who it is? It's that man once again.
No gun, no problem for Mercedes Peak here. Delivers, picks up a gun, comes just in the nick of time for this Gladius squad. 13-12 now. They just need one more. They just need this offensive round to close it out here.
And time and time again, we've seen the shoe be so many times on the other foot. It's RIX who are usually the ones that are clawing their way back into games and winning in overtime after a long, grueling, many best of 3s. I think they've gone to 3rd map 9 out of 10 times today in the series that they've played. This will absolutely deflate the side of RIX fully. And for Gladius, their streak still continues. They've not lost a single map since, I think, the 3rd game of groups. And this is exactly what you want for Gladius to go into that 2nd map full of confidence with an overtime win.
Not yet, and they'll be damned if RIX are the ones to take that streak away from them. And imagine if you have to play another best of 3 after this. That's going to be exhausting for potentially RIX Static or Gladius, depending on who wins regardless. So I'm really, really interested to see just who is going to be the one to strike them down right now. Gladius in that advantage point. And this time, they have all the guns.
Yeah, all of the guns, luckily. Hopefully all the brains as well to try and do something here for the side of RIX to hold down the shop. It looks like B site might be where Static head towards. The point of contact is going to be found. That barrier orb going to be broken out. RIX, first point of contact for his team here. Out towards Speedway. And these first engagements here, Rook, you got to think are going to be ever so vital.
So important. Rex he's a good player. He can hold those angles, but with the way we've been seeing dynamic play from Gladius, I'm not so sure.
Here comes the aggression. Here comes the execute from the side of Gladius. Who's going to find the first frag in this round? And it's going to be RIX. There's Lupa instantly traded straight back and forth. 2-for-2 trade here. As just like that, there's the man once again, Sagino, with 14 seconds left. That spike, it's not going down just yet. It's not going to go down at all. Because I tell you why. When you think they're out, when you think they're down, guess who come to town? It's RIX Static.
RIX Static keep on swinging, and in spite of what looked like a fantastic opportunity for Gladius to just execute onto that site, they hold strong, they deny, and that Omen, he was lost on sight. You have to feel sorry for Howlsey, as he just had no way out.
Oh boy. Who says that LAN doesn't bring vibes and fantastic games? There's no feeling like it, honestly. We've had a fantastic time here at EPIC36. Of course, like I said, the penultimate stop on the initial phase of the Beacon circuit from Northern Europe, Valorant. And honestly, these teams have come to play, they've come to impress, and boy, oh boy, are they putting on a show.
Yeah. RIX Static have been delivering all over, and it's not just been in terms of undefeatable play. They've had their weaknesses, but they can still shore them up. They can still deliver. With this wall, they start to get to push on into this B site, but there's going to be a player in between them and this site.
That one player is going to be calm. Finds the first. Sagino's there to trade. And for the side of Gladius, they've got one player to stop this team advancing out onto this site. But as I say that, the reinforcements have come. There's Mike, there's Samo as well. Mercedes Peak chipping in on things as well to find the double. Gladius, they advance for the second time here in overtime on to map point.
I thought it was going to be Halsey who's going to be that all-important player. The Omen got onto the site to make sure there was someone to hold backstop. But before it even got there, Gladius tore apart RIX Static as they attempted to get onto that site. And as you said, match point now for Gladius. They just need to get an effective attack, which, I mean, they started off strong. It's after that where things started to fall apart a little bit. I just want to see one more opportunity from them. That's all we need.
One chance is all Gladius need. One vital error from the side of RIX, and boy oh boy, will they capitalize on it. Early bit of contact over towards Garage and B main. Two players set up, lying in wait. It's going to be RIX and Lou. Sagino finds the first towards mid though. No information as to where the spike might be just yet. Mercedes though going to continue to try and claw his team back into this game, but Lou answers back. The fade diff comes through. RIX Static, numbers advantage once again here.
Cover going out.
They play out, they play slow. And Gladius, I mean, they've got that play disadvantage, but hey, if you get the execute, it may not even matter. But they've got to find that first, and look at how little utility they have. This flash, they use it here. They don't have anything else to execute with. I think that would be much a miss.
Yeah, the issue that Gladius are going to struggle with is they've only got that one flash to play behind. Samo, though, has been spotted. Got to try and win this first engagement. Onto Peter, they have been spotted. The pop flash comes through, but he faced the contact. He won't. It's a big 1v1 on site. Peg's going to lose it. 3 versus 3. 3 versus 2. Is this the chance that Gladius need?
It is indeed. They're going to be able to get that spike down. Players might push through quickly, but they're pushing through heaven. They're not going to come into a position to deal with these players quite so easily.
2 versus 3. Sagino and Lou. Gonna find the first. Sagino there. Isolates Mike. Can he isolate anymore? He can for the triple. Samo gonna trade. Lou knows exactly where he is. Has dropped down. Found the cross. Gonna jiggle it. No way, Samo thinks he's stuck. How have you swung that? Just play the time. Lou finds the kill. And we're going to triple overtime.
Lord, oh Lord, what a poetic way that would have been to end, with Samo besting Sagino there. But again, it's these fades, man. They just keep on delivering regardless of what happens. And this agent has just been so pivotal on how this game has gone on out. Be it the ultimate, be it all the information they've gathered, and these haunts constantly, man, constantly trying to look for these opportunities and making sure these players aren't hiding in those corners, which otherwise could be oh so sore.
Time and time again, when one team have numbers advantage, it looks like they're going to win the round. Just one player goes huge. 1 minute it's Mercedes Peak, then it's Samo, then it's Sergino. Maybe Rex throws his name into the equation too. No matter who it is out of these 10 players in the lobby, they've all got that pop-off and step-up potential, and they are all stepping up for their squads right now. I love this though from Samo. Look at the aggressive angle he's holding out towards Garage, potentially going to spot at least 2 or 3 players here. Should he find the first with the op? Sergino, you can't move, my friend. You got to stay patient. You got to stay calm. This is the view that Samo has of it. Of course, we've got the X-ray vision from the caster cams.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. He doesn't stick around for too long, and that Prowler likely would have dispatched him regardless. So we see utilities start to come back on in here, and RIX are playing slow as you like. They don't want to mess around, and no utility burned by Gladius yet. They're happy to play that slower game. They know they can succeed here. They've had great performances already, but now RIX shifting over towards the A site, ready to make that push happen. There's a trader mark still on that B site if something happens, but 3 players over on that B site too. Now we start to see Mercedes Peak start to move on over to provide that support, maybe deal with the mid a little bit, but it's going to be full force onto this A site. You can already see the dark covers and everything else going on. There's the paranoia. It's go time.
Go time indeed.
30 seconds.
And the side of Gladius have just backed their way up and allowed themselves to play the retake. RIX, for the first time here in overtime, have a little bit of control and can try and put themselves a man advantage on the board.
They're not looking to muck about here. They really are trying to take this RIX. Waiting around the corner, Rex looking for a chance to pick one of these up, but there comes the play, there comes the aggression, but they're trading back so well. Look at that from RIX there as they decimate Gladius as they try to step onto the site.
Honestly, I need to know what RIX eat for breakfast. I need to know what's inside those water bottles of those boys. Honestly, I'm not too sure what drink company they're sponsored by, but hit me up with some because I need some for my ranked games at this rate. Every single time the side of RIX look down, defeated, depleted, any adjective, verb, noun, anything in the Oxford Dictionary you can think of to describe how upset they look. From the depths of despair, they drag themselves up off the floor and somehow, finally, after losing 5 rounds in a row to force overtime, they've not been ahead yet in overtime. It's map point for RIX.
It is their chance. They are stood at the precipice right now to take this one home. And it's only game 1, man. This has been way too hype, way too quickly, and I'm absolutely here for it. Samo going to be that first point of contact, but there are 2 players that could potentially swing him here. This could go oh so badly, oh so quickly, but he manages to skip out. But no, caught! As he's reloading, and Sergino just calmly teleports away, has a rendezvous with mid-control.
Oh, I want to see this game in the final tomorrow. I'm sorry, whoever loses, please 2-0 the next team. This has got grand final potential written all over it. I'm going to push for that best of 5 because I just want to see these guys play 5 maps at this rate. Cam going to find the first, though. It's Rex who falls for the first blood. Now it's Gladius' turn to try and claw themselves back into this game and put themselves round number 15 on the board and force what would have been the 5th overtime of this game thus far. I had a bit of a joke earlier on Rook with Jay when we were casting yesterday, saying I'm the king of overtimes when it comes to best of 3 series. Fun fact, he said, okay, I'm not going to cast any best of 3s with you. They've not gone to overtime. I think 1 map. Looks like we're going to have it first game of the upper finals here. So buckle up, my friend. We're in for a ride.
We really are. But losing that spike is also really bad for Gladius here. It's 3 versus 3, yes, but the time is ticking. Look at the clock. It's already to 20 seconds. They've got to go fast.
They got to go fast and they got to go furious. And what better way to do that than with the double satchel of the raise? But Mike's going to get caught with his pants down. It's Lou to not only find the first, but find the second. It's all up to Mercedes Peak and Sergino. The one player that you could put your house on to win a 1 versus 1 or a 1 versus 2 situation goes huge for the side of RIX Static. And boy, oh boy, that was map number 1. And do you know what? Screw it. Screw the break. Let's run map number 1 straight back. Because honestly, these boys are putting on an absolute performance here so far, Rick.
It was so good, and it was all across the board, right? All these guys delivering first blood after first blood, putting up the numbers. Cam sitting at the top, matching Sergino, just showing how much he was able to do on that KO. I'm absolutely here for fragging KOs. I'm a big fan of Luatan and Cam's replaced him in my heart at the current moment, but Sergino obviously setting up all over the place on that chamber was a big part of what allowed RIX to take that.
I mean, you know what? You've got Samo right behind him as well, 28 and 22. We said for a little bit we thought Samo was losing the chamber battle, but really, really stepped up towards the end there for the side Look, we are going to take a little bit of a short break. When we come back, lots of map 1 analysis from myself and Rook. There are a lot of talking points to digest and break down. And when we are back, we'll break it all down before heading into map number 2, which I think we're going to head over to the sunny streets of Bind. So make sure you're here. Myself and Rook will be back for some more Valorant Beacon action here at EPIC36. You want to be here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back here to the official Valorant Beacon event for Northern Europe here at EPIC36. An absolutely ludicrously bonkers start to the upper bracket final. I said I could see 3 overtimes on our hands, and guess what? 1 of 3. Check. All right, map number 1 did not disappoint. RIX out of nowhere stormed their way back into that game.
He's cussed as cussing it, man. We've got food to eat and everything, but he's like, yeah, make every game as long as possible, 3 games. To be fair, I'm absolutely down for it, especially if they're like that one, which was so back and forth. Honestly, it started off 4 and I was like, wow, Gladius looks so good, and then they seed 6 rounds in a row, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're not. Maybe they've got their number, and then we go right back in, right to the very bitter end. I really couldn't ask more. And honestly, I really have to make a shout out again to Mercedes Peak and how much they were able to do on that fade, which was, I think, key on both sides. But Mercedes Peak is always a good player that stands out to me. Very impressed with what they were able to do and pick up those frags as well.
Yeah, like half of me wants us to see another crazy map like that, but the other half of me wants to eat my Nando's that is just going to be sat next to me relatively shortly. But who doesn't love a cheeky Lando's as well, by the way? Things you love to see.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, look, in all seriousness, back to the game. I think it had a bit of everything, didn't it? Let's be honest. Let's cast our mind, which feels like forever, all the way back to the first 4 rounds. We saw Gladius out of nowhere storm into a 4-0 lead. They looked great. They won the bonus, the aggression, the counter strats that they were running to shut down RIX anytime any potential tried to swing their way. It was beautiful stuff. But then RIX, you know, I said before the start of this map that both of these teams have that flip of the switch factor about them where, you know, when one thing one time looks like it's going to go in the favour of Gladius, for example, RIX just out of nowhere, they pull stuff out of the bag, and we've seen them do it time and time again here this weekend and at many other Beacon events. Out of nowhere, they just resurrect themselves back into the round and they somehow win it.
They just also seem to get people's numbers, right? And they just, every single time they're like, okay, now we'll streak for like 6 rounds plus. And it's like, how are you even pulling that out of here? You were struggling so hard to deal with that problem. And eventually they find an answer to it, and it works and it works and it works. Now, I think the other kind of counterpoint to that is Gladius, right? They've got this aggression, and sometimes they can bottle it. The problem is sometimes they can't get their lid off. They really struggle with that one. So then they can't get aggressive again, and they can't string together those rounds like they want to. But they managed to get it back open towards the end here and get that little bit out at the end, but it wasn't quite enough to take them over the line. Now, that second half for them was stressful, but it showed that they have the tenacity to keep on going. And obviously we've seen that they've already gone to overtime already today on Bind. Do you think we're going to see that again going long overtime, or do you think it's just going to be a very short overtime? I know you think it's going to be overtime regardless.
I mean, you said it was stressful for them playing it. It was stressful for us watching it. The people in Twitch chat as well. I've had like multiple DMs to say, how have you managed to cast a crazy game like that? No, honestly, I feel like if we're going to go to overtime, they're going to be long-winded overtimes like the one that we've just seen, because... Yeah. Like I said, going back to the point I've just made, every single time it looks like a team's going to get the edge on one of the teams. Sagino will find a 3k. Peg a few times in that game went huge with 2 or 3ks. Rex in the one round where he was stuck in one corner in Garage on defense, he found a 3k after getting a res. You know, they'll pop off for RIX, and if RIX are in the lead, you've got the likes of Mercedes Peaks, Calm, how many times have we seen them pop off? Samo on the Chamber, Halsey and Mike been doing the work as well, you know. There's so much individual talent in all of the 10 players that are going to be on the server and in the game for these 2 lineups and rosters that it's really hard to split the 2. And look, I said at the start of the series that RIX have looked a little bit inconsistent at the moment, and that's why we're seeing these overtime score lines and the 13-11s, the 13-12s, for example. The comeback seasons have always been on when you play against them. They've got to try and stamp that out. They really, really do, because I think Gladius, at times, they let them off the hook a little bit there.
They really did. I think RIX as well are a team who have their sights set higher than where we are currently. They want to go really into the big leagues. They really need to clean up their act if they're going to be able to do that, because other teams will not let you get away with that, as we said before. Now, I think the interesting thing for me is asking about that consistency as well, is asking how that's going to be on Bind, because they've had some pretty crazy rounds on Bind at times, but also at the same time, they've been playing around with a couple of different comps. They've even been picking up the Neon, I believe, on this map. And I think kind of looking towards that is definitely going to be an interesting one. And how it match up into Mike, because I actually think this is a really good map for Mike, because he's going to be playing on that Raze, which I think is fantastic here on Bind, and also he has a lot more chance to go aggressive. And he did not have the best game in the previous map. I know you're talking about, again, how much impact he gets in terms of space, but I think he can do better. We've seen more from him, and I want to see more from him, because that's the one thing we did miss out on in the previous map, is Mike going wild, because that guy is crazy good when he gets his chances.
Yeah, when he's feeding himself and the double satchels are out in full swing on the Raze as well. And I think you made a fantastic point about Bind and Raze. They kind of go hand in hand and 2 and 2. To be honest with you, I think if you're going to play a duelist setup on Bind, it used to be the likes of a Raze and maybe a flash-in sort of, or a Jet, for example. Usually we'll see like a Raze and a Rain or a Raze and a Jet on this kind of map here. Obviously now Fade has been brought into the game instead of that extra flash and the extra Jet or the Rainer, for example. We'll probably see Mercedes pick up the likes of a Fade, and then Cam's gonna be on the KO still probably. It doesn't surprise me that we'd see Mike have a good performance here. I think the Boombot and Util presence on this map is really, really vital to clear all those close quarter corners and sort of cubbies and pigeonholes that you might find a few players lurking in Hooker. Don't get me started with Hooker and a judge. Honestly, you know, we've seen that been made infamous many a times by European pro players. No doubt a few of these lower tier players will try and take a few pages out of their book. So, you know, I think I can't count on my fingers and toes, probably let alone the numbers on a keyboard, how many times I've seen a Raze nade go through the teleport into Hooker and find like a 3k towards the back of Hooker. So big map here for Mike. I think he can be vital to get Gladius back into this game should he perform well.
Another group of people who I think are going to be really important are these controllers, and I'm interested to see what we get. I think maybe we'll go to Omen for comfort, but I think Astra can be really effective here. Viper can be really effective on this map, but I also think Brim, obviously, but I'm a big Brimstone fan. I think this is one of the maps where he's always been relatively useful. And I'll be interested to see if Rex stays on that Sage. They could go for a really old-school comp, right, where they're playing that Brim, playing that Sage, and just locking down those sites and playing from there. I think that could be really effective for them, but again, they're also playing that Neon, so I don't know how much space they have left in their composition to try and play around and exactly what they're going to do.
Well, we're going to see Pegasus. We're going to see Peg 100% on Brim. I could always say 100% on Brim. He really likes Brimstone on this map. I think Brimstone as well, because there's, especially if you're attacking the B or the A site on the attacking side, you've got to smoke off Heaven, you've got to smoke off CT, you've got to smoke off, not CT3, you've got to smoke off either side of the Radiant box. Sometimes you might even have to try and put a smoke out towards the likes of Lamps to get Lamps control as well. You know, so having those 3 Brim smokes are really, really useful on a map like Bind. So Peg 100% would most likely try and jump. This is where he's like, John, I'm watching this stream, I'm just going to meme you because you're a mate of mine, and he, I don't know, he doesn't even pick a controller. They play like Quad Duelist or something like that. It's just for the memes. We're going to see Lou again probably on Fade. Mike will take the Raze. I can't remember if it is a KO pick, a Breach, or it might even be a Sky pick out of Calm, to be totally honest with you. I can't remember. I was watching their games this morning. They were playing Bind. I honestly can't remember. My mind's gone blank on that. I think we're going to see a Chamber, though, in the hands of Sagino, obviously, as well. Almost only agent he ever plays.
I wouldn't want him to change, honestly, especially because there are some really long line of sights on this map for him to lock down. And I think as well, adding a second teleporter into the map makes it very easy to traverse around if you want to try and play that kind of Libero playstyle, ready to save whoever. But at the same time, obviously, you can use it for those more aggressive peaks, which we likely expect to see. And again, what Samo will be kind of doing to match up to him and kind of deal with him, whether Samo will remain on that Chamber. I think Samo is much more of a player who is likely to flex around. But at the same time, I don't think Chamber's bad on this map, so he might just pick what we agree is probably the best character in the game.
I think Chamber's great on this map because you can set your rendezvous, one inside Lamps, one inside the close cubby on B site, and you can TP back and forth from the side. So if you get the call that it's an aggressive A, bam, you snap your fingers and all of a sudden you've got 3 players, not 2 on that A site, or 4 if you're triple stacking it, for example. So those trademarks as well with those short changes and the box changes now, you know, the Sage wall used to be very heavy meta back in the day to try and wall off short on A. It's so easy to jump over that now. So I think if RIX do run that Sage on Rex, because we do like RIX to know having that trademark on Sagino set up behind him, for example, could be very, very vital to try and slow any aggression over the top of that. I mean, in regards to how I think this map goes, though, Rook, I think honestly you could flip a coin when it comes to these two teams. You know, confidence and momentum, obviously, definitely in favour of RIX at the moment after that close overtime win in map number 1. However, Gladius, they're a team that they just don't go away.
Yeah, they won't let it get to them. Of that, I have absolutely no doubt. Gladius will keep on hounding them till the day they die, if they can. I think you're right, though, that it is really hard to determine who's going to win this. That's why we went to overtime in the previous map. That's why I think you're actually right. We are going to go to overtime again. And even the early pressure, right? Even the early rounds have proved that we don't know if that even matters. These guys will clutch it out and then some. Very, very tenacious. But I think if you ask me to put money on one of these two, I believe in Gladius. I think we're going to go to that third map. I think they look really good on Bind. They've definitely got a lot of prac on it from what I've seen before. So I'd not be surprised to see them have a lot of success here. But at the same time, you know, I'd be down to see that Neon sprinting it down that mid again into that kind of B area and just catching some of those players off guard.
I think we are getting the R checks in the chat. Here we go. Oh, dear.
Oh, no, we're loading. Oh.
We couldn't start the game because someone's PC has crashed. R.I.P. Samo. Samo's... I wish you guys could see the chat right now in the Valorant game. It's erupted. Everyone... Rex has literally said before the game starts, Samo's going to crash. And it literally happens.
I think we need a community fund for Samo's new PC.
Everyone that donates right now to the Just Giving for Samo's brand new 3090 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can use some of the prize money if he wins towards.
I think that would be a good shout, honestly. Just upgrade something, buddy. Like anything
Please,
in there. Like
at this rate, knowing Samo probably just put some new RGB in his computer. Or something
that makes it go faster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you play better. You didn't know. Skins equals wins. At least in my case, that's why I've spent so much money on Valorant.
Yeah, buddy,
skins.
you need
and
help.
I'm still hard stuck Diamond 3s. I do need help, honestly. Just when I thought I was going to get into Immortal and try and push on higher up the leaderboards, they put another whole rank setting in.
Just to keep you away, like,
so,
no, we can't let him get there.
No, John, we see that you're improving, but we don't care. All right, have that. But either way, we will try and... get things going. We have got the R checks once again. Can't wait for Samo to crash for the second time. I'm joking. Ooh. There we go. We are heading straight into Bind for the Agent Select for map number 2 here between the side of RIX and Gladius in our upper finals.
Yep, locking in those chambers all over the place and the fades as well. We knew it was going to be happening. Rex hovering that Neon. I'm absolutely down for it. Pegasus locking in that Brim just like I was asking for. And as you said so rightly, that Sky coming up for Cam here.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was the on the side of RIX. I didn't know if it was Peter and decided to stick onto the KO or switch to the Breach. He does switch to the Breach, but I did remember that Sky is going to be a pick for Cam. I love Sky, honestly. I'm a bit of a Sky main, although the Sky ult, right, if you're listening, please fix it, because sometimes one of your squids and jellyfish just decide to disappear out of nowhere and just blow up in your face. The Neon pick on Rex, though, is something that I like to see. I mentioned the short changes as well. We won't see him on the likes of a Sage, because Sage isn't really viable on this map much anymore. He'll pick up a more aggressive style of play, and this suits Rex down to the T. I saw him going crazy on the map earlier on against Tempera, where he was a real key factor to try and find a few 2Ks and 3Ks to swing them in their favor.
Yeah, and I mean, I was talking about that running it down mid. I mean, he literally did. He ran on, I think, the second pistol round and just capped 3 guys in the head. That shows you, I mean, look, he may be held back by the chains of Sage, but just like Scream, you know, he was playing Sage as well. He can just go absolutely hog wild, and I'm absolutely here for it. So that gives RIX Static a lot more kind of dynamic play in comparison to what we saw before.
I don't know if I'd compare Rex and Scream too much, to be totally honest with you, but I get the comparison that you were trying to make. You may have just made yourself into a bit of a meme in the in the Twitch chat, but it's okay. We live to see those days as casters. But, well, in true Headshot and Scream fashion, it is going to be Rex to find the first taps on to the side of Gladius, and it is going to be Samo who falls on the chamber. So, numbers advantage early on here in favour of Rex.
They're actually crawling back towards that A site, even though Rex got that frag and then kind of thought, oh, maybe they're not going towards here. They've got 3 players on that on that B site. No quick teleport as well. Look where those rendezvous are set up, but 2 players sitting in U-hauls does mean that there's a chance for them to find something as the push could come through. The flash goes in and doesn't hit anybody as the smokes go down.
Smokes out though for the side there, Gladius, and well, Rex is going to be out of the round, followed by Peter as a nice little 2K from Mike. We mentioned we need to see him step up, and he's done just that now in the first round here on the pistols. 3 versus 4 on the retake here for the side of RIX.
So glad to see those early frags coming through from that player, but they back right on off. They are playing post-spawn right now. They do not want to have to contest that at all as the Prowler goes on in. They're clearing out everything. Upgrading a little bit is the rest of Pegasus and the gang. But look, they're pushing up here, trying to land those shots. And, well, they do actually catch one, but Mike trades another in.
The reason why Brimstone is used so much on this is because of the molly lineups. Mike finds the Quadra. He's only going to find more kills in 1 round than he did for about 17 of the first map, but it's okay. We mentioned we wanted him to step up, and he does just that, and that is the ideal start for Gladius. However, We do know that Gladius have a habit of winning the early rounds and then throwing it away.
They do. They did with 4 rounds in a row and then ceded all of their money. Like, completely just throw it all down the drain and handed 6 straight rounds over to RIX Static. So, certainly don't count your chickens before they hatch. That's what I learned from the last game. And certainly count on RIX Static to weather the storm, hunker down, and look for their chance to strike. As Sergino steps up early and already strikes away Mike and teleports away.
I'm going to need lessons off Sergino on how to just hit headshots with a headhunter. I play Chamber a bit myself, but not to any sort of caliber as this beautiful man does. And he's just so hyper-aggressive. He does find the first Halsey there. Doesn't get tagged up, though, but numbers advantage here in the eco round for the side of RIX. Peter's going to find one. Halsey down to 20 HP. Sergino lying in wait. If he peeks out there and finds the kill, that's huge to leave them in the 3 versus 2. Probably recycles one of the guns as well, but Sergino is sat towards Cubby, finds one, instantly swings, faces towards bench. Mercedes.
They're coming in. They're going to catch him, actually. They're going to get the Sky. Cam gets taken down, and that's so big. And, well, Mercedes Peak does have that weapon, does have that Spectre, can still finish them off. Gets a spray on one, but doesn't quite get them at range. And RIX Static, they do pick up the round.
Yeah, great stuff from Peg and Lou. All they do is just stay strong, stand together, and make sure they trade the kill. That's all that was needed. And Gladius, that's not what you wanted here after a great start to the first round. You put it on the board, you get yourself to Spectres, and now what should have been their bonus round and a 3-round win at that on the board flies over to the hands of RIX. But that all comes down to Sergino finding the first 2 picks, right, with that headhunter.
As you said, don't count your chickens until they hatched, and Sergino rips them away from Gladius, as now they're the ones with all the cash in hand and all the Vandals in their hands as well. So, RIX Static already getting a little bit of momentum away and looking to try and solidify that control, especially on the defense side of here of Bind. You can streak super hard through this one and not let them get a single thing. But Mike gets that first frag and denies Sergino from having impact like he did in the prior one.
What is it with these players and just finding kills with Sheriffs or Headhunters, man? I mean, they're basically the same gun, apart from you can ADS with one, have a bit better accuracy. They just managed to hit heads and find kills. It was Gladius who had the numbers momentarily, but RIX answer back with 3 of their own, and Peter and Rex can get some sort of control here for this round. And the side of RIX, Halsey, though, not going down without a fight, but that's not before the triple for Rex comes through on the Neon. Second on the board for RIX. And now we head into what is going to be the first buy round for either side, and I think you can see the way this bind's going to start to shape up.
Yeah, RIX Static pick up all those weapons again, pretty much, apart from choosing to go with the Spectres on Loot and Pegasus here, because, well, I don't really know why. They've got so much money on Loot here. They could upgrade, but instead they choose to stick around and feel like they could probably buy again in the next round.
Well, but they're just going to play it like a bonus round. That's what they're going to do. They're going to play a bonus round with three Vandals, because Peter's going to be able to buy next. Sergino will have probably the tour de force and can invest in for Rex. Rex has now got the overdrive for the next round as well. So it's basically a little bit of a bonus round, but with 3 Vandals instead. So it's not really no win, no loss kind of fee here for the side of RIX.
Decay comes on in, but the combat stim means they can continue to spray on through. They're moving on in. The Hellfire comes on down, tries to catch some of them, but it's Cam who, when they're out in the open, guns them down.
Flash comes through, perfectly timed as well, as Calm's gonna try and manage to find Peter or Izzy. Doesn't get out with his life, though, after shock pop, no avail, however, as Calm doing the dirty work on the Sky, as it's a triple so far for him. And just with a few moments left before that spike is detonated rather, should I say, RIX Static look like they're gonna have to do things the hard way here on Bind.
You can see that Sergino is still here, could actually find something, does get a frag, but not too much of it. Oh my god, okay! Lines up another 2 just for free as well, so good shots coming on in. But Gladius, they still get the round, they still manage to keep some of those rifles at the very least. But as you said, that was essentially a bonus round for RIX Static.
Yeah, a bonus round indeed, and for the side of RIX Static, they have got 4 ults on the board.
They have, and that would be really key in trying to actually set themselves up for a massive amount of control over this hub. They've still got the cash, they've still got the guns, and they're going to have access to basically an operator in the tour de force for Sagino here, so they should be able to lock down these rounds oh so well. And having good weapons, having good utility is so important on this defensive side. You cannot half-arse it. You need to look for big opportunities to just punish them with the fact that you can play at those longer ranges and really just shoot them out.
Well, not only things heating up in the studio that we're sat in and us and production are sweating very, very heavily here. Things are heating up inside the actual server and the game themselves as we sit at 2 apiece. I made a great point in terms of the ults, whether or not they should invest them is something that we will live to see. For the side of Gladius though, listen, bind on attack can sometimes be a bit of a tough spot. However, if you do get onto the site and have a nice post-plant hold, retaking these sites, in particular B, is a very, very difficult thing to do.
It's a defensible position, and that goes for both sides here. His ultimate's used to gain space. Showstopper going deep, but Samo's there, reloading. He needs to push now. He catches 1, and they actually managed to take 2 out of that, so that's all good for Gladius right now.
3 players left alive for the side of RIX, in and around towards the back of CT. But the elbow control from Samo is going to be so vital. He's got the tour de force to work with here as well. Or no, I think he actually is burning the bullets on that. So the save should come through for the side of RIX and Gladius. And that's the side that we need to see. You know, they take the round by the scruff of its neck and they force the aggression into there.
They really did force it, but the important part about that force is that they used ultimates, like Sagino is doing right now. Does get shot, obviously doesn't drop anything, was on that tour de force, but yeah, Gladius, yeah, great, it was a good round, you got it, and you completely forced, you basically just muscled Static off the site, but you can't replicate that, right? You don't have the ultimates available to really be able to do that at all, and you even lose, oh no, sorry, you actually take down Peter, which can take some of that economy away, but RIX Static, they still have 3 ultimates themselves, and a lot of power to work with.
A lot of power indeed, and one thing that is very powerful is that Rolling Thunder and the Orbital Strike in the hands of the Breach and the Brimstone too, and I think that's why we sometimes see the Brimstone pick here into the likes of a bind, because the sites are very, very hard to hold on to. You know, should you be at a 2 versus 3 or a 3 versus 4, the numbers advantage is what you kind of need to try and retake as the defensive team. Having that Orbital Strike as well as the Molly too to delay the Spike Defusal and just play amount of time out as you can is a very, very vital thing to do. But as we do get the traditional and the mapule, should I say, tech pause going on here during a LAN event, let's take a little look at our scoreboard. Anything here that really stands out for you at all? Rook, one thing that shocks me is Mercedes Peak a bit struggling at the moment, 1-4.
Well, no, he's not managed to have quite the same impact, but still 3 of those assists and still providing a lot on that fade, as this character is wont to do. Now, the thing that does stand out to me is the fact that Mike, as a result, is a lot higher up on the scoreboard. He's the one picking up the frags instead and picking up the slack that this team needs him to do. Now, I think, again, if he can gather this control over the map, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And with Cam to back him up, I think this is a lot better way for them to play around this, because for the most part, you don't generally see the KO play around the duelist in the same way that you would, for example, see a Skye do, because she has a lot more intel gathering, a lot more ways to set up for it, rather than the knife, which is a little bit more fire and forget and set up for the entire team than just one person.
Yeah, well, you know, with Skye, it's a good talking point in terms of just how useful her flashes can be. Of course, you can duck and dodge them and dive them around different types of corners, right? And you can actually pay, in my opinion, off a pop flash of a Skye a little bit better than you can off of a KO. I mean, I don't know if it's just my KO flash placements aren't that great, and I end up flashing myself 9 times out of 10. I'll have to get some of these players on a 10-man server later on to try and teach me some good KO pop flashes. But, you know, I just like the fact that you can just swing the bird around the corner on the guiding light flash of Skye, and then from there, you know, it just allows you a little bit more wiggle room to work to then just swing out after the flash, and I just feel like it's a little bit easier to kill yourself. You never really, you know, get flashed by your own flash if you're a Skye actually popping it off in the first place.
Yeah, unless you literally slam it right into the wall and then press
Oh, that's why I flashed myself so much in ranked trick, that's why.
I mean, yeah, as well, you can really guide it into the specific position. Unless you know lineups on KO, it's a little bit harder to get in right the place, unless you're like some sort of CSGO veteran who really knows how those grenade arcs are going to work, and it is relatively similar at the very least here. But obviously, grenade going out, clearing out some of bathrooms, but 2 players pushing on in right away, and even when Concussed, he tries so hard, but it's Peter who is the one who finds those frags, and with Sagino delivering as usual, the Rolling Thunder has to come through. They're trying to get that control back.
Yep, and I think they have done just that in terms of bathroom control. What they haven't got, though, is lamps and short control, and that's so vital while trying to hold on to the A site. And although Peter's there to answer back, Halsey manages to trade on through, and in a 3 versus 2. And that's going to be the investment on the orbital strike from Peg, which I'm not too sure if I agree with. That's 1 minute into the round left to play with, and they've actually been baited by the fake as well. It's going to be, I want to jump forward with Mike if I can. He's pushed out towards CT, finds the first. It's Sagina who falls. Lou probably heard the satchel sound cue, though, up towards the top of heaven. And now in a 2 versus 2, this isn't the worst situation for Gladius to find themselves in this post plant.
They're quite separated, but if Lou can strike down one of these players, then they really become a pincer on the remaining one. Takes down Halsey. Look at that, sitting up in the high. There's Mike.
Has spotted Peg, though. The only issue that he has is it's not planted for him, and Lou's nowhere near to be seen. He's got to try and get over towards that spike, but guess what? Mike somehow ducks his way out of trouble. The paint shell will come through, and I think the time should tick down, or should it? Lou is going to hop straight on that spike. He's got time to defuse it. I'm not too sure I agree with the way Mike has played that. He knew exactly where Lou was, but the issue was, as soon as Lou crosses to that Radiant box, he has full cover to work with, and he knew where Mike was. The only way he's going to come out there is going to be probably to satchel out from the types of heaven, and he holds his nerve and finds the third from RIX. Fantastic 2v3 on the retake.
I think for me, the real problem is that the spike was not planted for him. That's the real issue here. So he could not play from up on heaven, and as a result, it was a real disconnect on the side of Gladius. They wanted to communicate better, and unfortunately, it feels like they didn't do that. Halsey was separate, and whereas the other team kind of pincered, they spread themselves way too thin.
Yeah, well, if that's you made a great point. You hit it nail on the head. If that spike's actually planted on the triple box of the Radiant boxes for the wallbang, he can just stay there, right? 9 out of 10 times that nade followed by a few wallbangs would probably kill you. But the fact that it was actually planted on default probably left him in a bit more of a world of trouble than good itself, actually. And that's probably just mainly because their players have actually fallen on site.
Yeah, and to be fair, they had all the time in the world. So I do not, you know, Mike, look, he made some mistakes, but the team as a whole should have been more prepared for that situation and that eventuality. And now they're going to have to be more prepared to actually get back onto that side again. That's the hard part, man.
It's fine room for error and fine margin and attention to detail, right? That can cost you so many different rounds when it comes to Valorant competitive play. And although these two teams in particular, they've had their woes and their wobbles, but they've also clutched up when they need to. And 3 rounds apiece here. This has sort of got that map number 1 written all over it again. It's a little bit closer at this round count than it was last time around, though, but RIX going to find the first. That's numbers advantage over to the defensive side. Can Sagino find one? He TP's out just in the nick of time as well. That spike aggressing up towards A, short and over towards the A site, but Sagino, you got to check corners here. Halsey finds the first, can't find any more for the triple. 2 versus 3, and all of a sudden here, RIX can find themselves in a bit of a tricky spot because Peter's going to be located, so is RIX. That's going to be Mercedes Peak when there's one player that needs to step up. How many times is it going to be him? Swings the corner, can't find Peter though. 2 versus 1, 2 versus none. Peg goes huge, round on the board for RIX.
Yeah, really well played there, Pegasus, to find that one. And the fact that they got onto the site oh so quickly in spite of the plant was the big part about it, because they didn't have time to set up, and that's when this becomes oh so hard. If you give them the time, then that retake becomes nigh upon impossible unless they make a big mistake.
And that's the word mistake, right? And how many times have we seen RIX in particular, Gladius in particular, make those small mistakes in rounds, and it's cost them maps at times. And I mean, so far, I think that's what the game could actually come down to later on in the closing stages. Who can make those mistakes? We mentioned coming into this, Gladius have only actually lost 1 map, and that was to the side of Echo Sports earlier on.
No, now 2.
But now it's 2, because RIX have ended that run, so is that something that the side of RIX can use to their advantage for a little bit of a mental edge?
It's true. Well, I'm sure Gladius have lost quite a few in their time, so it shouldn't be too bad for them. But they do trade 1 for 1. That's fine when they're on that weapon deficit. So Gladius very happy with that. They get the spike down. They cut off a massive part of the map. And look at that, Samo delivering again just when we need him to.
Yep, Sagino there to answer back. Samo 4 HP and more than a dream. It's going to be found by Lou. But the thing to mention, though, is the orbital strike for the Brimstone of Halsey is available. Lou, though, has to try and break his way onto the site and help Sagino out. He does just that. It's Mercedes Peak who falls. Halsey gonna invest the orbital strike instantly. Can he swing and find a kill Lou doesn't know he's there. Lou thought the peak was coming through. But Sagino holds the nerve for the triple. And just like that, RIX double their advantage from 1 round to 2. It's 5-3.
Stuck on the site is not where you want to be when you're on that brim. He wanted to play far, he wanted to have the liner, but there he was. He was not able to really give help to his teammate as well because he was stuck in U-hauls. So really unfortunate positioning that RIX then, even with the mistake that they barely don't spot him, are able to punish because he doesn't land that shot and then he doesn't finish off the job. So now RIX moving into 5-3. They're in a much better position with them before, obviously economically in terms of ultimates as well. But keep in mind, if Gladius can kind of keep up some pressure and get a couple back, this is not a bad half for them, right? It's hard to take these offensive rounds.
Well, this round is going to be huge because if RIX win it, the economy from the side of Gladius is going to be shattered, and that's going to be at least a guaranteed half win for the side of RIX should they win the eco round out. It will be at 7 rounds to 3 before they even get a chance to buy again. For the side of Gladius, though, if they can win this, it's not going to break the economy for RIX just yet, but it is going to keep that economy and that money low. So we're into that middle stage of the half where it's really squeaky bum time and touchy grounds in terms of how vital it is to just keep one weapon online and to, you know, maybe find a few exit frags should you lose the round. Time will tell, though. 1 minute 10 left. And the side of Gladius, they're not getting too overzealous here in this round number 9 just yet.
Yeah, that was a chance for someone to maybe peek on forward as Rex is backed off, but instead, they're going to give up control of that and maybe start to rotate away, but no, Samo makes his move and actually catches Rex as he tries to run, but the pressure, the push is coming onto the B side. They could rotate, though. That's a good shout. They could teleport.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to whether or not for the side of Gladius, Samo can get some control over that A site. They're going to lie in wait. They're just going to fly out through the smoke, but the spike's been dropped. There's one player as well lurking behind sites. It's going to be Peter. He should catch Samo with his pants down, but in a 2 versus 2 with 28 seconds left, the side of Gladius, they've got to go. Samo, how has he gunned Lou like that? Samo, you madman, you beast, you animal. And just like that, for a second, I thought RIX were going to be able to catch Gladius at the brink of death, somehow flip the switch in their favor, and they're in a 2 versus 1.
Man, oh man, Peter hesitated, and that gave Samo the chance to slip around that corner and move into now a double-pronged position to hold this site. They got the plant down, and Peter has to push in versus 2, has no utility left. That makes it so darn hard. He's not going to regenerate anything but concussion, but he just drops down, goes down, and Gladius get that round, and importantly, they don't lose their econ that you highlighted before.
That was pure Samo. The fact that Samo has
100%.
run the corner and absolutely control, copy and pasta deleted Lou off of the map is ridiculous as well. The angle advantage, obviously the peak's advantage on Valorant is slightly higher than it is in some other FPSs. Usually the person holding the angle can have a little bit of an advantage sometime, but to just move like that, Samo, we questioned him at the start. He started off a little bit slow, but finally picking up 2 huge kills there when it matters. And there's the break of the economy that I was talking about, how important it was. I thought for a second that RIX would be able to scrape a bye. They could have, but they've elected to go into the eco here, and we could see Gladius tie this game up at 5 rounds apiece.
Yeah, I think regardless of what happens, don't forget RIX have access to those ultimates, and you can hear the tour de force. We could even see the overdrive come on out if the Neon feels up to it, if Rex feels like it's their time. But right now, they're just looking for those initial picks, trying to find an opener, and from there, maybe then they'll widen that gap and open up the round, as now Lou's going to be that first point of contact, really needs to hit this shot, otherwise things are going to look bad, but Samo takes him down, and that site is looking more and more empty by the second. The shorty, they know he's there, but he still might find the frag as they push him too heedlessly.
Yeah, it's Peg waiting, lying in wait with the shorty, waiting to pounce the Seekers of Voice, and Mo just spot him in the end. Housy's going to clean up shop onto Rex, and this is a very, very well-drilled, well-sought-after round for the side of Gladius. If they can keep all 5 Vandals available in their hands here, it will be huge, and that's exactly what they do. A clean sweep, a flawless round here at EPIC36 to tie things all up at 5 rounds apiece. Oh, map number 2 is living up to map number 1's expectations. I called the overtime. I'm calling it again. Just give it to me, Rook. Honestly, I want the overtime to come through. And oh boy, these two sides, nothing can separate them right now.
Right into your veins, but right into the Aether with those 2 ultimates that RIX used in that round. Sure, it's good to use them, obviously, because there's not many rounds left in the half, but they still have access, importantly, to 2, in fact 3 really key ults that are covering massive, massive areas. The Showstopper is something I want to highlight, though, because Mike is so good at using it. He creates space just by hearing it. You go, oh no, I do not want to be anywhere near that sound cue.
Yeah, you made a great point about the 3 ults for RIX. They're retake ults as well. That's the big thing. You got the Fade ult, the Breach ult, and the Brimstone ult. All could go huge and block off line of sight. You can dismantle people. You can cause some upsets and in some uncomfortable situations for the attacking team to find themselves in. But one thing that is key is to talk about the first blood percentages. I'd love to get them after the map if we can, because each side, it seems like they're going to win the round if they follow up on the first blood. Every time a first frag has got in the favour of one of these two sides, it seems like they can just follow up on that potential and snowball the round into their effect. And as I say that, it's going to be Samo who falls. There goes Mercedes, Peak, Rex, and Sajino, the dynamic duo once again for the side of RIX, getting the work done. The TP comes through, but guess what? Peg's lying in wait. Can I hear an orbital strike? Please, in towards Hooker. I don't think he needs it, because there goes the showstopper. And speaking of showstoppers, Peg is shutting down the show as Lou finds the kill. 6 on the board for RIX. What a huge round for the side of Static.
Such a big mistake. That concussion destroys them as they try to play into Hooker. And oh my lord, fantastic for Pegasus to get that big old spray now. I thought that the ultimate was going to be a great call. It would have worked as well. But if you don't need it, you sure as hell don't need it. And they still have those really key ultimates. They didn't use a single one, did RIX Static. So this round is so in their favor, despite the fact that there's weapons on both sides. Gladius just don't have the same access to weaponry as on the other side, as RIX Static do. The one thing that they do have advantage is the access to that Tour de Force.
And speaking of Tour de Force, it's going to come straight out into play. Samo going to try and find one, but unfortunately he's heading over towards long, and he's not going to be met with anyone at the moment. And you can almost bet your house on the fact that if Peter hears any steps towards short here, that Rolling Thunder is going to come straight into play. And guess what? There it is. Let's go indeed. And our one player actually has got Rolling Thunder back into the close cubby. Rex should get the kill. There's the Rolling Thunder combination for Pegasus, but no kills have been found off the back of this ult apart from the initial frag at the start of the round on to Mike. Gladius still very, very much in this important final round here. In it indeed, as all of a sudden the numbers advantage completely wiped off the map from RIX, as 2 kills go in favour of Gladius. And just like that, back and forth trades, 2 versus 2. Although the spike goes down, that's going to be recycled into the hands of Mercedes Peak, and we're going to have a 2v2 after plan.
I don't know how Lou found that frag. The flash coming on in there. There we see the ultimates come on through. Fade tries to mark some of those players to give that little bit of extra information. Rex is set up and waiting for their teammate to strike. They want to move as a duo. That's so important here.
The timing, it's going to come down to timing here. Rex and Samo, they're back to back. Rex has got the information as to where that one player is. He's trying to isolate the second, who I think is going to be out over towards Tunnel. There's no way he's going to stick it half here. The audacity to stick it half. He somehow got out. He's found the kill onto Mercedes, and he's got the triple as well. Rex goes absolutely huge. The audacity to stick the half HP defuse as well. Oh my god, okay, we don't need any of that, my friend. Chill out, it's a PG-friendly stream. But the teabag is deserved as RIX Static going at the half, 7 rounds to 5.
Rex confuses the players that are trying to deal with him, as that wall just cuts up the information just barely enough for him to not get shot. He flicks around, takes him down, and in amongst all of that confusion, Samo can't land the shot. And now they come out of this round with an advantage, which is good, but don't forget, Gladius have kept it very close, and now they're the ones on the defensive side, which makes a big difference here, as Gladius could lock this one down. They need to deliver, however. They need to get us to that 3rd game, man.
They do indeed. Gladius got to go huge for the squad. However, RIX, they want to get this done in 2, Rex in particular. Fantastic performance. I said this Neon suits himself so well, more so than the Sage. Listen, I love the fact that he's a smart player around the Sage util, but when he's firing on all cylinders and he's hyped, he is such a hot shot to try and slow down. Speaking of trying to slow people down, Sajino's done nothing but frag out of his mind thus far this weekend, and he opens the affairs here.
Oh, but Mercedes P catches Rex as they try and move forward, and there are the ghosts, baby, as Mercedes P just shows why they've been such a threat this whole weekend long. I am looking forward, honestly, to seeing more of this player, and they deserve to get to the finals. I don't care who wins this one. It's like, I'm just here for good games, man. I'm so darn impressed by not only Mercedes Peak, but every single Fade we see so far. Every single game we watch, I am more kind of noted that my opinion on Fade, that she is going to be one of the strongest agents in the game, is completely on the money.
Listen, I live for this chamber and fade meta. I really do. The util basement, the haunt, for example, the prowler, the ult, anything that you have with fade, you can have one ability and you can clutch 1 versus 5. Yep. That's how useful her util can really be in terms of getting information and just, you know, really playing to your best potential in this game. I mean, for the side of Gladius, you know, they would have been depleted after RIX have just shut down shop there and clutched a 2 versus 1, but they answer straight back with a huge pistol round of their own. And guess who it's at the hands of once again? Mercedes Peak. So solid. One of the key elements and one of the key cogs in the well-oiled machine that is Gladius at the moment. And for the side of RIX, they just don't like to do things the easy way, do they?
No, they will not be deterred at all. And RIX, I mean, they seem to love a challenge. That's all I can say. They seem to opt themselves in the hardest situations, but they make it out. That's the most important thing. If you can keep on doing that eventually, you'll just be strong as you can be. But now focus is turned towards that A site. Smokes are starting to go on in, and Mike is in position and a potential chance to play spoiler to this push.
Let's see what happens. RIX, they know they've got to try and break the momentum that Gladius are building. Of course, though, they have only got the pistols in hands and they're good at close range, but unfortunately, they're not going to be better than the Spectres. Mike finds a triple, looking for the quadra, gets it like that. 7-7, even Stevens, baby. We're all tied up here, Rook, in what has been a fantastic upper bracket final thus far this evening. Look, you know, I'm going to be guilty. I kind of said, can we watch a few best of ones instead of the upper bracket final? How wrong I would have been if we said that, right? I mean, I was trying to give some love to the people that haven't been on stream so much this weekend, all right? I mean, I was trying to be a nice guy. But I'm glad I wasn't at the end. You've
got to be selfish sometimes, man.
Listen, we got to get the footage for the show reels, right? That's what it is, right? That's what it is. Let us know in the Twitch chat if you're enjoying it. Don't be mean. We're here all weekend. Either way, 7 rounds apiece here as the side is static. Can they capitalize and win this bonus, though?
That's a big question, honestly. I mean, Gladius have looked so strong in so many of these, but at the same time, like, when you give Rex access to this weapon, it could be so good. That flash almost works out for them, but Cam still falls because there are too many players for him to deal with.
First frag in favor of the attacking side. The spike will go down as well in the hands of Peter. So Gladius' team, we speak about this B site, sometimes it can be nigh on impossible to retake it. It's so hard to retake. Their job's a bit harder, to be honest with you, as Mercedes Pete's going to drop now to Peg Zeus. Can Peg find one more? He can. The pixel on the screen, that was Samo, deleted off almost instantaneously, and just like that, it's all up to Halsey. He's been spotted, does find one though. Who said the Spectre can't spray and pray at long range? Well, Luke said, guess what? The Vandal's just a little bit better. 8th goes on the board for the side of RIX, and they're just a few rounds away now, should they win these out, from securing and booking their ticket into that upper bracket final.
Bonus round for Gladius doesn't quite go how they want, but they get a couple of frags, they get some damage down. It won't have deter the investment from RIX. They're still going to have rifles on every single player, but they lose this, they won't have much to spare. Yep. Now, it's going to be rifles back at it for Gladius, and they get that operator on board for Samo early as you like it. They really rate this, and Samo can lock down some really key areas. I love seeing this guy with a long-range rifle in hand.
Look at the aggression as well from Rex, straight out in towards Toilets. Super aggro, but Mike's going to meet him face to face with the showstopper. That's not a bullet you want to take to the noggin, my friend. And neither's that as the headshot comes through from Mike Sagino. He's dropped out of this one early on. And guess what? Yes, okay, Rix, you can meet us with aggression, but we're going to fight fire with fire, say Gladius. And they are gladiators indeed, as we see 8-8 go on the board between these two titans, as what it seems here at EPIC36. They are trading blow for blow, and no one is hanging on to the ropes just yet.
Man, oh man. Honestly, I have to ask Mike, has he ever considered a career in arena shooters? Because the way he swung around that corner and rocketed the man in the face looked hella reminiscent. So I'm so impressed by the dynamic play from both sides. I was excited for Rex to just sprint it down, sprint in, catch those players off guard, but was caught by the trademark, unfortunately a little too late for himself to kind of slide on through it, and as a result, he was dead in the water with the Prowler hitting him point blank. So now, Gladius in control, have that economy advantage. They do have an ultimate, but it's only one in terms of that fade, and that'd be great for retake, but right now, they don't want to even get to that point.
And for Rex, they've just got one Spectre to work with, but it works indeed, as Rex going to find the first, so let's not count the side of Rex out. just yet. The only issue is, though, a lot of damage done to both Lou and Rex. Samu with the op, lying in wait. For the side of RIX, they have got the orbital strike.
We do.
They have got the fade ult as well. If they can recycle another weapon into one of these players' hands, this could be a bit of an uncomfortable spot that Gladius find themselves in.
I mean, the question is, how many smokes do they have left? That's my big question about RIX right now. Looking to maybe get some information on this B site, and from there, decide where they're going to play. But that Spike still sitting solidly in the middle, undecided. As it shifts towards their A site, and well, their idea might be moving towards there. They could easily teleport, but they actually invest the Fade Ultimate there to maybe try and pull some players across. But here comes the push, here comes more. But they've turned away from that mid. Mercedes shuts it down as the smokes land.
They have got all 4 players, though, out towards the site. Howsey trying to delay the spike plant. Doesn't actually land the molly. Now he's in a bit of a tough spot of his own. The classic spray and pray. The right clicks the lot. Coming out from close range. And in this post plant, they've actually got the ult and the molly available for Pegasus as well. This could go delightfully great for RIX, but they've got to try and keep these players up. Howsey is going to shut down a Sigino to start off with. All this is here from RIX is a delay. Take your time, relax, but guess what? Howsey is going to be sticking it, but that's going to be a kill from Lou. Straight off, Haunt comes through. He spotted the contact onto 2. Do they know that it's going to be stuck half, though? That's the question. They've got to invest the ults. They do. They off it. The spike diffuse has been killed. Lou, 1 versus 1 against Samo. A huge anti-eco round here that the side of RIX can win, and they do the triple from Lou. When you need someone to step up, the man does it. I can tell you right now, he's probably screaming louder than I am in that LAN hall. And RIX static. Boy, oh boy, do they know how to make my heart beat fast.
The nick of time. Oh, Lord. Did RIX Static manage to just barely pull that one out from underneath Gladius. And Gladius played it so well, right? They played so well, pushing forward, taking out the players one by one. But the man who stood the test was Lou. As that ultimate came on in, he stepped up to the plate. He got some damage in and allowed it to finish them off. They still got a decent number of ultimates. Look at that. They've still got the Neon. They've still got the Rolling Thunder from Peter. RIX have so many ways to make this happen.
And I said all it was from RIX. When I heard that spike start to tick a little bit faster, I was like, all you've got to do is delay your time. You've got the molly. You've got the ult. That's all you needed to happen. And RIX are going to try and answer back with a bit more aggression of their own. And they just fly straight onto the site. Okay, yeah, it is just going to be the eco round for the side of Gladius. This could be 10 on the board, but the side of Gladius, they look defeated at the moment.
That's not an eco round. That's an ego round for RIX. They just pushed in. Good number of kills, to be fair, from Gladius, but they were feeling themselves. That's why they just had to throw it in. They do lose a little bit more than they would like, and they used up that ultimate, so I don't think it's the best round for RIX Static, but a round is a round, and they're going to hit this double digits unless Mercedes Peak pops the hell off. Now, they could look to do it. It's 2 versus 3. It's definitely possible, and they've got a lot of utility purely because they've got a fade on the board, and Samo can really step up to the plate. This man is a highlight reel walking.
Samo has to isolate the first. Does. There goes Peg. Can he isolate the second? Can't. Lou finds the trade. Haunt comes out. And it's going to be Lou to find the triple to shut down Mercedes Peak. 10th on the board for RIX Static. And have they got a hand? Have they got a foot, half a body into that grand final tomorrow?
Oh, and you know what? I don't think this timeout is a bad idea at all. Gladius, they're only 2 rounds behind, sure, but they're only 3 rounds from losing the game. Taking a timeout here, resetting themselves. They know they could pick up these rounds. They know they could take it to overtime again. Hell, they've got a much easier time this time if they want to make it towards that 13 rounds. But they're up against quite a lot in terms of econ, and they themselves have very, very little. Even though they have access to the Tour de Force, they could have 1 player. Sorry, 2 players with a rifle if they forgo everything else. That would be so unfortunate to see. They definitely have to save here, but that brings them ever closer to losing.
If buts and maybes, right? That's literally what it is. It's that time of the game where I mentioned RIX had a mistake in them, and they have mistakes in them. Can they somehow defy gravity and not make those mistakes what it seems like has been such a common occurrence for them and allow Gladius back into this game? Can Gladius force the error though out of the side of RIX?
You know, I think the more important thing is just to not let that mistake weigh you down. That gravity you were talking about, so darn key. If it happens, it happens. You know what? That's fine. Pop off harder. That's Lou's plan so far. He's been fragging out so far this game. You know, I was talking about Mercedes Peak. We were saying potentially one of the best players in the tournament. And you know what? Lou just goes, okay, but I'm the better fade, actually. And is really delivering here. I've been so impressed with them. And just RIX Static. They're on fire right now.
They are indeed. For the side of Gladius. Got to try and put it out, but they can't because RIX, he's feeling himself right now. An inferno of bullets straight towards the brain of Cam, and he's going to fall, trying to peek his way forward. This could be the 11th on the board for RIX. Is it one of the first nails or potentially many nails in the coffin on the side of Gladius? Can RIX send them down to do the loser's bracket run and force himself into another best of 3 this evening? Yes, okay. Let's not panic too much. Let's not get out of control here. It was an eco round out of the side of Gladius. That's why they took the tactical timeout then to talk about what they're going to do into the next buy round. Unless some last minute heroics happen. Halsey, hello, how are you doing today, my friend? This RIX is going to fall. All of a sudden, 2 versus 1. He had the ult to work with, but Sergino holds his nerve. That's the 11th on the board. We could be heading into our penultimate round here.
But look at the economy here. I'm really wanting to know. Gladius should be able to buy up now. They should have a chance to actually refute a lot of the pressure that RIX Static have been putting on them. They've got the guns. They're going to be able to buy up on Halsey as well. I know doesn't have anything in hand. They've got the operator back for Samo. They've got access to the orbital strike, as you said before. They've got everything they need to make a successful round. The question is, can they stop RIX Static from just running them through? Be it Sergino, be it Lou, be it Rex. All of these players are playing high tempo and giving Gladius no chances to deal with the kind of pressure they're putting down. And if we see that again, I don't know what you do. Rex pushes up right into the trap. The flash works out for them, but there's Calm.
Yeah, Sanmo there as well with the operator to trade things out. It's Sergino who falls, but Peg goes huge, but can't go huge enough. But Sanmo's going to find yet another kill with the operator. Hang on, though. It doesn't matter because Lou does find the kill eventually. Fade ult available for the investment should they want it. However, the 2 players are out towards CT, so I don't think it will catch them.
How does Brimstone shut this down right now? He's got that orbital strike. Orbital bomb to maybe deal with something, but that was a bait entirely. They're going to go back towards that B site. No one's going to be there. They are paying the post plant now. They've still got access to that fade as well if things go too far wrong for RIX Static. They know if they shut this down, that money for Gladius, it's gone.
Yeah, but I think Peg's played it too slow. I think he had to rotate back over here a little bit quicker. Okay, he wants to try and shift in case anyone's pushed up and push through a site. But yeah, I think Gladius are gonna read this here quite well. You know, if you're Mercedes Peak, you just stay quite aggressive out towards B because if they do go towards A, you have got the orbital strike available for the Brimstone to delay the plant. And here we go. Smokes go down. Huge round here in what has been an absolute firecracker of a best of 3 in the upper bracket final. Halsey, he gets the kill with the spike carrier as well. 15 seconds, the location's been revealed, and down goes Peg. Halsey goes huge with the brim. And I mentioned, did they take too long to wrap back from the initial TP? The answer was yes. The 9th on the board for Gladius and RIX. Is that the mistake that they could make and that they had in them come back to haunt them?
Don't let it weigh you down. But sometimes you can be too cautious, and that was RIX right there. They're a little bit shook, presumably, like, damn, we could have won that. But they'll keep at it. We know that for sure. They are tenacious. Both of these teams are. Gladius now down in terms of ultimates, but they still have those rifles. That's the most important thing. They are not on the edge of going out here. They still have a little bit in their back pocket, but they're going to have to deal with quite a lot coming their way. Tour de force in hand for RIX Static, and that is a scary prospect. Yet again, we focus on how good Sergino is. Can he deliver? Rex is that first point of contact. Always, always, always on this Neon.
Yeah, hyper-aggressiveness as always, but he's going to get tagged up a little bit through the smoke. Does live to see another day, however. And for the side of RIX, I think they're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at this round. I'm surprised the overdrive actually wasn't brought in from the side of RIX onto Rex. And here we go. All ults have been burned from Gladius on the retake. They've got the information when they need. One little TP or rotation here from the side of RIX, and they've got a B site completely uncontested. Are they going to try and hang on to it and plant it at A? That's exactly what they're going to do. We're going to see a 5 versus 5 retake come into fruition here. Rook, it's now or never really. Whoever loses this round is going to be forced to eco the next and probably throw the game away. Samo finds the first, but not before Sagino were there. Samo, once again, for the side of Gladius, tries to go huge, but that's not before Luke can go ahead and refrag it straight back out. 2 versus 3. Make it a 1 versus 3. Make it a none versus 3. As the threes go, the 3 amigos of shots from the side of Sagino and RIX. The triple once again from the main fragger and the main chamberman in the sight of the Beacon event thus far has put RIX onto map match, series and grand final, potentially qualification point for RIX Static.
And they take the economy of Gladius and they throw it in the gutter, man. They've got so little left. It's going to have to be something pop off here. The showstopper could do it, but oh my lord, would it be a sight to behold. It'd have to be 3-man potentially to shut this down. And even then, RIX Static, they've just looked so good. It's going to be hard to shut down. Cam has a rifle. They've got those sheriffs. Can they find the all-important frags to shut this down? They're making a gambit.
They're going to try and roll the dice and gamble, but unfortunately the cards that which they were upon dealt struck out completely. And unfortunately, the first 2 kills go in favor of RIX. The blind fire of the ult as well. Oh dear. GG, well played. Gladius, as unfortunately RIX look like they've done the job, and just ever so slightly they've stumbled, they've trickled, they've crawled their way over the finish line here in this best of 3 series against Gladius. They've been made to work really, really hard by Gladius though. Boy, oh boy, do I want to see this rematch tomorrow in the grand final.
They've been buried alive. They might still come back kicking in that rematch tomorrow, potentially, if they take down some pretty strong teams to deal with. But there it is. RIX, I mean, what a performance from them to be able to take down Gladius in that fashion. We really thought it was going to be overtime. We genuinely did. But RIX, they deliver, man.
Oh, they deliver indeed. And just when you think that there's, like, I mean, look, just when you think one team are going to throw the game away, RIX have that clutch up factor. It's honestly, I feel sorry for Gladius because that was an emotional roller coaster of a series, and they've now got to go and play another best of 3 against a team who are going to be hyped coming off the back of winning the losers semis.
It's going to be hard, but I mean, if anyone can do it, Gladius can. They have looked indomitable. Even in their losses, which they have lost a map before, they came back from that. That was fine. They lost to EKO. They were fine with that, and they didn't lose a single map up until now, where they lose 2 out to their opponents. So RIX Static moving forward to those grand finals. Do you think they have the possibility to take it all?
I mean, judging off that series, I mean, the answer would probably be yes.
Yeah.
But whoever they play, if they can ask the same questions that Gladius just did and Temperate did earlier on...
It's true. They look valuable.
RIX are beatable. They're really beatable. So it depends how they're going to have to go. I think RIX have to go back and watch the VOD tonight, and 110% they have to see what mistakes they made. There were so many small minor errors, for example, whether it be util combination just wasn't communicated properly, maybe a few people over zealous and over peaking too much. They got a little bit over aggressive at times and just got shut down almost instantaneously, in particular towards that B site on the bind map that we just saw towards long. Who knows though, tomorrow's a different day. They might wake up and feel like the best 5 Valorant players to ever live.
They certainly could, but I mean, we've seen, right, if you put the pressure on them, if you rub them the wrong way, Static will give you a shock. So don't count them out even when we go to that overtime, even when it looks like they might be throwing. They've always got a way back on in. But we do still have more matches today, don't we?
Yes. If you have enjoyed that series, you're in for an absolute treat. And if you're a fan of Gladius, they're going to be back here. Actually, have you got your iPad or something on you right now? Let's take a little look at the bracket quickly. We've not been informed who's been advanced through just yet because we're good casters. We have our phones away while we're casting, you know.
We're not nice.
Now. We're not now, but we're trying to find
who won that lower bracket. The winner of Temperate and Jokers.
So Jokers actually beat FPU and Temperate beat COG. So that's going to be an absolute insane game, which I'm going to have the delight to go and watch actually live from behind the seats because it is going to be Jay and Hannah to take you through the final series of the day, if I'm correct. Actually, I lied. I'm actually off to the dark side. I'm going to go and cast a different game in a minute.
I'm getting a beer.
I'm getting Nando's. Hopefully we haven't made you too hungry, and there's a lot more appetite for Valorant coming up just after this short break. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to be back for that losers final very, very soon.